Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 126. You disagree with me, you're in a cult. We're going to be looking at, well, this was a request made by one of our patrons.
Richard Beer.
Oh, yeah.
So
Richard
blame
Bier.
him.
Yep,
Oh.
yep. If you're going to blame somebody, blame him. We're going to be looking at two videos. One from Thunderfoot, where he basically does what he's been doing ever since Brexit, which is rail against people that
Brexit.
he doesn't, ever since Brexit. Yeah, he's been on a tirade against, people who supported Brexit, people who supported Trump, Elon Musk for some reason. Like, he's hated him from the beginning, like ever since, like, I think that Musk sort of like walked into or stepped into the public conversation, even
Mm-hmm.
before he bought Twitter, I think. And we're going to be responding to a video by Thunderfoot where he basically says, you're all dumb because you're not me and you voted the wrong way. Therefore, I'm going to like roll you through the coals. And then there's another video by a similarly arrogant elitist type, Dark Matter 2525, who was once upon a time a relevant atheist YouTuber that made animated cartoons about how stupid Christians are, although he never went after the Muslims or the Jews for some reason. But I digress. And now he's like, well, nobody seems to give a shit about atheist content anymore. Let me wade into politics. And so he also made a video about how we are dumb and we are in a cult. So we're going to to videos about that.
Okay, I know. We're gonna before we get into it, and apparently the real difficulty with these videos was they were boring, but we'll try to ease that a bit, ease that pain by making it entertaining. However, I think we got the wrong on the vertical. I think you might have the wrong. But you know what? I could fix that.
What's wrong with the vertical? What do you you mean the title?
No, the vertical is missing a space because there's not three of us.
No. The video is there. Hold on a second.
Oh, yeah.
It's there. It is. I'll just.
Okay. All right.
I'll just change the layout. That's where the video is. It starts on a black screen. That's all.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. Thank you for clarifying that, Brian. It was not a technical difficulty. It was a.
It's just what the scene looks like. I could change to something else if it fills the space better. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's bring us. Okay. Did you find anything interesting to talk about?
Well, okay. So I guess it depends on what you mean by interesting. So let's start. The Thunderfoot video is longer, so maybe we could start with that one, and that's the one I have up. That's a black screen. Okay.
Yeah, it seems like just from my cursory look, the other one is more egregious, perhaps, or is that wrong?
They're not really. See, the thing is, okay, I don't know how to come across with this to start this conversation, but Thunderfoot and Dark Matter 2525 is his name. Both of them, their arguments sound rational, but their starting points and their presuppositions about the people they're talking about, the people they're criticizing, they're wrong. So it's almost like Thunderfoot's the kind of person that would say, I don't think feminism is wrong. I think radical feminism is wrong. That's what I mean. So that means that his starting point is already wrong. And everything else after that is a rationalization that probably makes sense considering his starting point. So Thunderfoot's video is,
premises are wrong.
His premises are wrong, therefore, right. So his thing is, I don't like Elon Musk. That's it. I don't even know why. He thinks that Elon Musk is a con man who basically is really fake. He's made countless videos where he debunks his science, even though, you know about the most recent thing that happened where Elon Musk landed like a rocket, like vertically. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Okay. Now, I don't know. I don't know. I don't pretend to be an astrophysicist. I don't pretend to know about that. But I do know that Thunderfoot watched that whole thing unfold. And the whole time he was saying, this is going to fail. This guy's a loser. He's going to fail. This sucks. And he was explaining all of the different ways that this couldn't possibly work and that it was all bad science and Elon is a bad scientist, and all of this other stuff. And then Thunderfoot does a live stream where he's watching the launch and the landing of the rocket. And at the end, he's like, oh, he did it. Oh. So it comes like and he's of course surprised that he was wrong, but that's because his premise was wrong. And so I think that it's the same thing here. He basically says Anybody who voted Brexit is stupid. Nigel Farage is stupid. Trump voters are stupid. Trump is stupid. His cabinet is stupid. They're all stupid. And the worst part is that there are Christians among them. Which again, No, I'm serious, Alice. I'm not saying this like as a defensive thing. I'm saying that
no. I'm not laughing
Thunderfoot.
at you. There are Christians among them.
Thunderfoot and Dark Matter 2525 are anti-theists, specifically anti-Christian guys that have been going after Christians since 2005 or earlier, and they never grew out of it. And it informs every single opinion. So like Dark Matter 2525's entire case has to do with the fact that there are Christians and they vote. Just like Thunderfoot's, I'm serious. I am not strawmanning them. Okay, I am not strawmanning them. I'm telling you, this informs their perspectives. But we can go through the video. So here's some of the takeaways from Thunderfoot's video. Elon Musk's promises do not align with reality. Brexit is bad, and anybody who supports it anyway, he never got over that. He never got over Brexit. He thinks that Trump's promises or the things that he wants to do are impossible. He thinks that Trump destroyed the economy or will, because the jobs that they're going to like gut are all like American jobs. They're government jobs, but they're American jobs, but they're government jobs. I don't know if you guys understand how government jobs are paid for, but they're not, they don't count as jobs when you're like looking at the economy. Okay. So yeah, I mean, like, we can go through it, but the reason why you asked me what I thought about it, the reason why I said it was boring is because it's all stuff that I knew they were going to say and I've heard a million times. So okay. I'm not exposed to anything like, oh wow, there's a unique perspective. So yeah, that's kind of why I have that.
Yeah, opinion. It's okay. I know this is not the most.
But we should get into because Thunderfoot's the way he makes his arguments are kind of hilarious, because he literally compares the Trump campaign to the villains from V for Vendetta, and he uses clips to do it. And then he claims that his cartoonish perspective is actually our fault. You know, like we're the ones doing it because we like closed borders and like a good economy and affordable gas and groceries.
Okay.
We're the ones that are basically being like, what are the villains from V for Vendetta, the government? Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, Allison? I did. I just can't. Generic government corporate villains, I think.
No, they were literally like, you know, the Christian nationalist Margaret Thatcher, like Orwell's 1984 government. Like literally, like the leader was the guy from the original 1984 movie that came out in the 80s.
I need to put this my coffee in something that doesn't splash back onto my face. Because I know I
just finished
all over
mine.
my face.
This is why I'm a little animated, because I just had like another cup. So
it's okay. Before I go wash the coffee off my face and maybe find a mug, I just want to remind everyone, if you want to send a message, the very best way to send us a message is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And we get the full benefit of whatever funds you send, and you get the full benefit of sending your comment not through YouTube's comment thresher system. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Send those comments in, guys. We want to hear what you have to say.
We did get one, but it was another one that was sent because of a show I did with John on my channel. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
All right. Well, Ideologies says in our vertical chat, you guys should review the video Dark Matter made called "The Red Pill Lie." Sure. I mean, I would hope that we give an interesting perspective on something like that. Like maybe he has some good points.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I hold out hope always. And also we have our monthly fundraiser at feedthebadger.com/support. So if you want to help us out to make sure we can continue to bring you this content, which I think is very unique, as far as I can tell, it is pretty unique. Please help us out at feedthebadger.com/support. All right. So once again, this is a double request from Richard Beer of Thunderfoot plus Dark Matter, both responding to Trump's win. And before we get into it, and I really want to wash this coffee off my face. I apologize, guys, but I do want to say this before I do. One of my first interactions with Trump, or not Trump, but Thunderfoot, was him using artwork that I had worked on with one of the artists at Honey Badger Radio, who was working with and it was uncredited and it was going viral. And I remember going into the comments of his video and simply saying, "Hey, could you credit this artwork to the artist?" And for whatever,
was it one of the Kukurio pieces,
yeah, with
the Gamergate ones, or
yeah, it might have been a Kukurio piece.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Well, could you please credit the artist for this?" It might have been a Kukurio. It might have been I forget the actual icon of this current channel. It was done by another
Oh
artist.
yeah.
I said, "Could you credit the artist?" And I remember posting this comment on the video, and a whole bunch of his followers attacked me. I'm like, why would you attack me for a request like that? And there was even people who were warning me, like, don't question him. And I'm like, this is a simple courtesy. I'm not saying he's the devil, but just put the credit in. And I was just astounded because I don't think that anybody in our community would defend us like that. Like, I've had people say, "Could you credit the artist?" And I've done my best to try, although sometimes a lot of the memes that I share are like, I don't know, seven times removed from the original artist.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I've never had somebody say, "Hey, could you credit the artist?" and then had people who follow me or are fans of our content attack them. I've never seen
Mhm.
that. It's insane. Like, what the
Well,
hell?
he
Sorry,
used to be. Oh no, it's okay. He used to be a really big. Like I don't know if he still is. I haven't been. I used to be subscribed to his channel, like when he used to debunk Anita Sarkeesian. And it was fun. Like I mean, there were a lot of people doing it at the time, and I was happy that he did. But again, he was part of that whole atheism plus thing, and that's the funny thing about this is that we're kind of like coming full circle. The awareness or the awakening for many people when it comes to sort of getting involved with these men's issues things and being like realizing that feminism is not actually what it claims to be. It started in atheism, and a lot of people started there, and they were consuming atheist content. And Thunderfoot and Dark Matter 2525 were among like the big content creators of the time. But I think that the atheism content has basically like just become not interesting anymore. And the reason is not because atheism isn't like some like viable, belief system that somebody could hold. I mean, you can do that if you want to. It's just that the conversation doesn't go anywhere. Like, we're done. Okay. You either believe in God or you don't believe in God, and then you just live your life. We don't need endless streams of content talking about it, unless, of course, you have a different, agenda that isn't simply, I don't know, debunking the Christians. By the way, the only group that you're allowed to go after. Again, if you don't want the ADL on your ass or like some like, Islamist bombing your house, you don't criticize those other two Abrahamic religions. So you just come after the Christians. It's cool. Like it's so like what I'm saying. That's why it's boring, because I know what you're gonna say. I know what your arguments are, and I'm not worried about the Christians. I'm not. I mean, I'm not. I'm worried about the freak like danger hair communists that are like trying to infiltrate everything and like trying to cut off our children's genitals to replace them with different genitals. Those are the people that concern me, and most of those people are atheists. But anyway, so Allison stepped away to wash her face. I guess we'll watch some of this Thunderfoot thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it. Just the intro part.
A few years back, Elon Musk posted this meme about buying Twitter while promising he would make it the everything app. He would completely turn it around. It would control half of the world's economy. And in about 2 years, proceeded to crater the value of the company, where it lost some 80% of its value.
Okay, so this is Thunderfoot. All he's doing is he's saying Elon Musk promised these things. He's a loser. This is me proving it. But let me ask you guys, okay? Do you think that Twitter or X is better now in terms of what it is designed to do, despite the fact that it doesn't like maybe produce as many profits? And a lot of that has to do with advertisers pulling out because they didn't like the direction that Elon Musk was going with Twitter, but making it like legitimately a better space for what it is, for making it into a town square so people can hash out arguments. When Jack Dorsey was owning Twitter, it was probably more profitable because there were more giant corporations and like BlackRock owned businesses investing in it, but there were no discussions happening, and they were literally using it to silence voices like ours, by the way. So when this is what I'm getting at is this Thunderfoot's argument is not from whether or not something is good in, you know, regardless of what is sacrificed, but rather that something is bad because it isn't making money. So I'm just, that's his argument. Okay. Is that a good argument? I would say no. I guess it depends. Like, what's your goal with Twitter? Do you want to make money, or do you want to like improve the quality of conversation by giving as much freedom to people that use the platform as possible? Because Elon Musk's whole reason for buying Twitter was in fact because he believed that there should be more free speech. And Jack Dorsey and his team, by the way, some of the people on that team were Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian. There's no escaping the Gamergate downstream effects. And this and Thunderfoot is saying, well, it lost money, therefore Elon Musk is a failure. By the way, Elon Musk also fired 80% of the staff because they were doing nothing, because they were basically just bloat on the company. And Twitter runs just fine with 80% of the people gone. So what does that tell you about what those people contributed?
Well, all right. So just speaking on the issue of Twitter, I have a few thoughts. Recently I was put into non-human jail and on Twitter, alleged I was a bot, and there were some technical issues, and I had difficulty doing the Arc Rose challenge. And and the going theory is that I was mass reported by a bunch of people that I pissed off, which is entirely possible because no offense to anyone.
Basically, you often piss people off on Twitter because you go after the loudest, most vile people on Twitter. those are your targets, right? Or they end up targeting you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and in this case, I tweeted out something that offended both the conservatives and the feminists. It was about the sexual abuse of women by men. And these are self-identified conservatives. So I'm just saying what they say they are. And they struggled with the idea that women can rape men. And so I was pissing off two camps at once. And I think what happened is I got a mass report of being a bot because I disagreed with them and their assumptions about sexual assault. And so for a couple of days I was struggling with the technical difficulty. So I think it was not just a mass report, but also Twitter was having a technical problem. Also, the name X doesn't work as a name, but you know, that be that as it may, those are superficial details. Anyway, so it's having a technical problem. I ended up being put into Twitter jail, and I got out, and then I was immediately flagged for bot-like behavior. And I said, well, what? So I said, please review my profile. And a day later, they came back and said, oh yes, it appears that you aren't engaging with the platform in a malevolent way, or trying to manipulate the platform, or you're not a bot. I'm like, thank you. Oof. But anyway, at least I had some procedure I could follow to actually get that resolved. I remember Twitter in the past, the
Jack Dorsey days. Yeah.
The Jack Dorsey days. Well, first of all, the Jack Dorsey days led to a lot of shit that impacted my real life. By the way, guys, I know you guys don't know this, but it was 10 tweets sent to the organizers of the Calgary Comics and Entertainment Expo that got me evicted from the booth that I paid to rent to promote my comic book. Right. So, you know, Twitter, people say, oh, it's just Twitter. Well, Twitter actually has seriously impacted my life. And I remember those days. It was actually frightening to go and engage on Twitter. It's no longer scary. And I mean, I don't mean like, oh, I'm going to get called a bad name. I mean something like I'm going to do all this work and have it disappear, or I'm going to have a bunch of Twitterati come at me and try to get me in real life. Or what was the other thing? when we did a convention, when I put on a convention in Chicago, because I was the head of that convention for men's issues, again, a bunch of Twitterati came at us and tried to get it shut down. That time,
Yeah, they sent police to the hotel. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the police didn't buy it, but they showed up just to say that they showed up, and
Well,
they were
which
like,
is
"Yeah,
funny,
we're sure nothing's going on, but we're just gonna come here and look anyways."
which is funny because I actually arranged with a local precinct to have off-duty police
Mm-hmm.
security, which probably helped the issue quite a bit. But it's like this is, and we also went and talked to them beforehand. You remember that? We
Yeah, I
explained
know.
what
I
we
was
were
with
about.
you. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I know.
and
But again, they were so insistent that
yeah.
I guess, and the hotel too. They came to us and they were like, "Yeah, we're getting all these calls." And it was what's his name? That guy. Is he still on Twitter? That one
Take
guy
down
from
MRAs. Take down
Take
MRAs.
Down MRAs. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was that guy.
And
Yeah.
you couldn't do anything about that. Nothing whatsoever about that kind of behavior. So I've from Twitter, I've had situations where I've gotten kicked out of events. I've had people on Twitter attempt to get my events shut down. And the only reason it didn't happen is because we had already established a relationship with the cops beforehand, and we'd already established a relationship with the venue. So the venue just took Karen aside. Karen was the MC of the event, and was just like, yeah, we hate to tell you, but there's this kerfuffle on Twitter. Where they didn't actually do anything at all. Like they didn't kick us out. It was like the second day of the convention. They just, they were just concerned and wanted to inform us that there was a Twitter for costs, and we're like, yeah, we know. Or at least Karen was like, yeah, this ain't our first rodeo. So
Mm-hmm.
it's aggravating when people are like, "Oh, Twitter is worse now." It isn't. It isn't. I
No, it's
don't have that
objectively
dread fear when I engage in it, and that
right.
fear that I'm going to be a target in real life, and that also the work that I put into Twitter is just going to disappear. Now, this last little stint in Twitter jail was not fun, but I did some reading about it, and apparently it's a legacy system that Elon's appointed president is thinking of getting rid of. So this is from the
Mm-hmm.
past. I got
Mm-hmm.
hit
It's a leftover, right? Yeah, sure.
by something from the past. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like right now Twitter is a lot better as far as I'm concerned. And also there's an individual talking in the chat, the vertical chat, the special chat, and says that it's full of like AI. Yeah, have you noticed YouTube lately?
Yeah, right.
YouTube is absolutely saturated with the AI bullshit. And it's like,
Look, yeah, I mean, you could say that Twitter's got bots, but that's you're basically you're cherry picking because the bots are everywhere. They're on
mhm,
Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on Pornhub probably. They're so like that's kind of a pointless exercise. Like, oh, look at this, Like overall, I think Twitter is way better than it was. I'm much happier to use it. And like, we don't get shadow banned on Twitter. We don't get throttled on Twitter as much, at least. I think Hannah still has some issues. I don't know why. It might just be a technical thing, but because
mhm.
of her wacky ass username that I cannot remember how to pronounce or spell. But
Yeah, yeah. I just occasionally message her so I can keep that username up in my DMs, and I can just copy and paste it.
yeah, I know. It's just weird.
When did
It's
you have
like
to use
it's
the
probably the
hashtag,
most
Hannah?
esoteric. I'm sure it's the most esoteric pun ever created.
Yes.
And that's why she puts it everywhere so she doesn't
If
forget it.
anybody figures it out, it'll be the end of the known universe.
Yeah. All right, but anyway,
Yeah.
so like I think that whether or not Twitter is better, it depends on how you measure for better. So Thunderfoot's measurement for better in this case is better if it's not controlled by somebody he hates, Elon Musk, and it makes more money because his whole thing is the value has gone down, therefore website bad. When Elon Musk took it, he said he didn't care about how much money it would make. He has said this repeatedly that he cares about what the platform does in terms of what it is, like whether or not it functions as it's supposed to. So I think in that regard, it does do well. So
Mm,
anyway,
yeah.
should we
All right.
continue? All right.
I don't think
And now
Elon took over Twitter to make money. Sorry.
No, he doesn't need to. He
Yeah.
already took like all of the freaking climate activist money when he made his cars. So so I'm saying he doesn't have to. Like he's perfectly content. In fact, I don't I don't follow Musk that closely on social media, but I see him around every so often. I've never seen somebody more animated about the future than him in recent days. And I mean, he's such a child. It's really funny to watch him. I show Lindsay like pictures of him or video clips of him getting excited about stuff. And I'm like, look at this guy is honestly, he's a weirdo, but it's a bit endearing. Like he's like this awkward nerd. And but anyway, I think that he thinks he's doing the right thing, and I think that's good. So
Posting
Well,
this meme.
no,
Yeah.
keep going. We got to get
All
through
right.
this.
Yeah.
Thunderfoot actually has a really cool voice.
literally do for America what he did to Twitter. Yep. This
So okay, Thunderfoot says he is promising to do to America what he did to Twitter. Now see the framing, okay? So Thunderfoot says he ruined Twitter because Twitter's less profitable, even though it's more free. And he's going to do the same. And what Elon Musk means by that when he says he's going to do it is that he's going to help cut the fat, right? Like the government, the federal government in particular, has probably thousands of people working there that don't do anything but collect a check. And I've seen lots of people talk, and we know that this happens. We know that that is the nature of the state, right? Like anybody it doesn't matter who's in office. So this isn't something that has to do with particular party affiliation. The federal government or governments in general are full of people that don't do anything, and they collect a paycheck, and that paycheck is taxpayer money. So if you can get rid of those people that aren't doing anything, and you basically streamline your government, or you could treat it like your business. There's probably people, what's the Pareto principle? 20% of the people do 80% of the work. So that means there's a bunch of people that a business that aren't doing much of anything, and you could probably get rid of them. I mean, that's just a fact of life, right? So why wouldn't that also be true for the state? So he did that on Twitter. He got rid of a bunch of people that weren't doing anything, probably a bunch of college-educated women that were just going in there and having their avocado toast and their, soy pumpkin lattes, and they were like going to the roof and going to meetings and playing fucking, with the what do you call that? The hockey thing, like the air hockey and whatever the little games they have. And he basically said, yeah, these people, why are we paying them? Get rid of them. And they did. And so he's like, we're going to do the same thing with government, which is like, if you're a libertarian or you have libertarian leanings, that should sound like a dream come true, almost an impossible one. But Thunderfoot doesn't like that. Do you guys know why Thunderfoot doesn't like that? Can you guess why Thunderfoot doesn't like that? Why does Thunderfoot not like the idea of someone getting rid of useless government jobs? Why does he not like the idea of shrinking the state? Anybody?
Anybody? Well, I'm the only one in the room with you, Brian. Do you want me to guess?
Well, I know. I'm looking at the chat. No, you stepped away, so I felt like I had to like.
No. I can hear you when I walk around.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think Thunderfoot dislikes this idea of shrinking the state? Do you know, Allison?
I'm guessing because he gets a paycheck from the state.
That's right. Ding, 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 ding. Thunderfoot gets money from the government. So Thunderfoot is he's an atheist that worships the state, but he gets paid by the state. Elon Musk got money from the state. I'm not saying that that's not the case. Obviously, every corporation gets money from the state, but I think that he is okay with working to reduce the need for that, because otherwise he wouldn't be interested in shrinking the state. But Thunderfoot despises that idea. A lot of scientists, especially, they get a lot of grants from the state. Do you know what they spend that money on? Have you seen some of the stuff? I think it was Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, but specifically Vivek Ramaswamy, looked at what science grants that the federal government pays into are used for. It's things like putting monkeys on cocaine to see how they act. It's putting shrimps on like treadmills to see how no, I'm serious, to like track their heart rate. Like these are things nobody asked for. What? And they're spending like millions of dollars on this. So like, it's like, well, do we need to know how monkeys would act on crack? Or at least would we need to spend this much money to figure that out? Can we just, I mean, I think it could make for funny videos, but I don't know. I don't want to put monkeys on crack.
Well, there's a lot of there's a lot of problems with academia now. And,
Yes,
and
and they hate that too. That they're like I said, they worship the state.
well, there's a lot of like just entrenched bullshit. And I'm actually, Karen would be much better to talk on this because she
Yeah.
actually had a friendship with an oncologist who talked about how much absolute crap is being funded in terms of research, as long as it fits within the particular framework that's dominant. And yeah, I mean, that's a very long conversation to have.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
We're only
okay,
30 seconds in.
to really no, to simplify it, okay. Elon Musk is saying we're going to shrink the government like I shrank Twitter. And Thunderfoot is trying to suggest that would be disastrous because Twitter is in a disastrous state right now. Have you been to the wasteland that is now Twitter, where no one is there and no one's having a conversation and there's no free speech? Obviously, that's incorrect.
This
Mhm.
is the reality of what the people voted for. Or maybe it's not quite so clear cut. Maybe we'll come back to this later. And Trump just published his family photo, where curiously absent are his wife and vice
right back.
president. But Elon Musk is there, fresh from powdering his nose. Huh. So Trump's now palling around.
So again, he's trying to suggest Elon Musk is hanging out doing cocaine with Trump or something. I don't know if you guys know, but Trump is pretty straight edge. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't even drink. So I think it's kind of weird. But again, this is like a big stretch. He's trying to find ways to discredit this guy that he hates. And honestly, I don't know why he hates him so much. I honestly thought, that it would be like I don't know, here's a guy doing science and he's more popular than me. So it's weird. Okay. So Elon Musk also he did a thing where he talked about I don't know if we can talk about the Fauci, ouchie, but he talked a little bit about this gain of function research, where he said is like a buzz commie term that just means like death science, the science of killing people, which is what Fauci was involved with. And again, Thunderfoot loves Dr. Fauci because Dr. Fauci is another one of these government funded science people. And he and Dark Matter were all about the jabs and the masks and the lockdowns and all of that. So they were completely behind all of that shit with the coof that we went through. And they cannot back up. They can't like go back and say, shit, dude, we were wrong. We fucked up. No, they have to double down. So now it's like, yeah, everyone who didn't do as they were told by the science, they're all suffering now. And it's all this and that. And they have to do that because science is their God and they have to worship at the feet of science. And that includes Dr. Fauci and his experiments on beagles and whatnot. All of that is completely valid and it has to be. Meanwhile, that also includes things like chemically castrating children by giving them drugs that mess with their hormones. He has to go with it because it's science and he has to go with the science at all times. I think Musk is actually starting to question that, although, he's still more science minded than anything else, but he's at least questioning that, or at least understanding that there is such a thing as good science and bad science. So there is that, because again, his own child, Musk's child, was put through the hormone replacement therapy thing, and he's like, they killed my kid and I went along with it. And of course, this is part of what is driving him. He is angry because one of his children was put through this system. So another reason for Thunderfoot to hate him, I guess, because again, he's not loyal to the science. So
All right. So okay, first of all, as far as I can tell, in the first 1 minute, and we got 27 minutes to go. I have a hard limit. I gotta go. So
all right. I can jump ahead. I can jump ahead to something else.
Here, this is what I want. I just want him to make a criticism that is engageable, because the thing is that when he says, Elon has made it so that Twitter is 80% less profitable. Well, Elon didn't go into Twitter to make a profit. And so if he's going to be involved in improving the states, I guess, he's not going in to make a profit, right? One would assume that's not what you want from a politician. He's going in to uphold principles, and the principle he upheld on Twitter, hopefully, was freedom of speech. I know I felt that, but maybe it's just because I'm part of the cultists that I actually felt relief that I could actually talk on Twitter for once. And that's obviously an example of me being part of a cult, I guess. But regardless, so this criticism on its face just doesn't have merit. So let's just go to the next criticism. Can we do that?
All right, I'll go to the political landscape, Trump and immigration. So this is going to be about Trump. I'm sorry. Maybe let me just make sure that's where this is. 22.250. Okay, let's see.
Has an 8% chance of survival here. You know, it's funny, when Brexit won, some decade ago now, the internet was full of utterly obnoxious, gleeful, gloating morons with, "We won, you lost, get over it, cope harder, so worth it for all the liberal tears."
June the 23rd, go down as our independent.
All right, so that's Brexit. Of course, like I said, Thunderfoot hates that we voted Brexit. They just wanted to be out of the European Union, and I don't blame them.
Day.
And years went by, and the glee turned to gloom, and the gloating turned to, well, it's not as bad as the worst predictions.
If on March 29th next year we leave the treaties, even if it is a bad deal, even if we're in a rotten place, we will historically have left the treaty.
To ultimately the sad reality of, well, we voted for it, so I guess we're going to have to live with it.
Brexit has failed.
Brexit has failed. Maybe that's why a staggering new poll published by Unheard shows that.
Oh, this is really disingenuous editing. But okay, he talks about Brexit. I'm sorry, I had the wrong time code, but I will say something about this. Why does Thunderfoot support not leaving the European Union? Again, it comes down to him getting money from governments. He doesn't actually give a shit about like British people not wanting to essentially have to bend the knee to some foreign government in Brussels when they can like govern themselves. It's another appeal to larger government with more overreach in the same way. You know, he's all about the federal government. I'm more in favor of like, you know, state governments, which is what the whole Roe v. Wade thing was about. And in terms of this, he's like, oh, we're going to suffer. And of course, he's saying that, oh, look at these polls. He makes these appeals to like, you know, these polls and these media reportings. Oh, the experts said that it's bad for British people, so it must be bad for British people, instead of actually like, I don't know, talking to British people. I mean, the media, really? You're going to appeal to media experts? Have we not learned anything about how much they lie? But anyway.
647 of the 650
Jump ahead to
Sweet,
the
juicy liberal
thing.
in the
Shut
known universe. Trump 2.0 is Brexit on steroids. And I have no doubt whatsoever in the
So he's certain that Trump, this new administration, which he believes is worse than the last one. I think it's a lot better than the last one, personally, the picks so far. And it's going to be disastrous. So I guess the apocalypse is coming for us. Thank you for telling us how bad it's going to be for us, foreign man from another country.
comment section will be a
Well, I'm a foreign person from another country.
Do you think it's going to be bad for us, Allison?
I just consider the alternative, honestly.
Oh, are you saying that there were two choices and we had to choose between two things? And that like most Americans made a rational decision and they wanted to like, oh, I don't know, and I got to go through the list again, guys. I'm sorry. It was better economy, more jobs, bringing productivity back to the States, a closed border, lower gas prices, affordable groceries, affordable housing versus abortions. That was it. That was the comparison. And people chose these things over this. Even women didn't buy into the abortion argument because they were like, well, I don't need the state involved with that.
Well, I don't need the federal estate. Like you don't need the, need the federal administration involved in that. But I could have told you that the abortion issue was a terrible issue to try to run on because it
was all they had.
Well, I mean, okay, let me just speak and then respond.
Okay.
the reason why the abortion issue was terrible is because it's the one issue that you will galvanize the most women to vote against. There are far more women against abortion in any circumstance. So these are the women you are going to galvanize to vote against a candidate that's pro-abortion. And they didn't even consider that because they think of women as a monolith.
Mm-hmm.
They think of women as a liberal monolith, that women are all just one thing. And if you're not a woman that's all that one thing that they've assigned you to, you get to go get stoned. Not in the good way, you know, in the pointy rock way. Like,
Yeah,
and
sure.
that is, I mean, I've experienced that because I exist outside of the monolithic view of womanhood and the expectations of women. I'm not pro-life, I'm actually pro-choice, but I exist outside of that in other ways, you know, like questioning, constantly attributing victimhood to women, you know, that kind of thing. And I've experienced the kind of shit you get when that happens. But I could have told them, like, why would you make abortion your platform? And I don't even know if there was another policy issue that they really pushed aside from that, aside from man bad and orange man especially bad. Like, anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I was just basically what I'm saying is that like the reason why they had the Roe v. Wade thing was it was their only leverage or their only tool was because they had already alienated and demonized and shat on men for like the whole time. I mean, like even before Trump ran in 2015, they were doing that. And so it was like, well, they didn't even have a way to appeal to the male voter. They were like, what do we do about the men? The men aren't coming out. Well, we should shame them and blame them and call them names, and then they'll come out and vote for us. Or we should tell them that it's their responsibility to step up and like protect the women in their life. And it's just men just were like, nah, fuck that. I mean, some men did. There were definitely white dudes for Harris or whatever, but most men were like, nah, they either stayed home or they voted for Trump. And why not? I mean, like I said, I don't think it's irrational. This is another thing that Thunderfoot and Dark Matter 2525 do is they say, oh, well, it's a cult. And it's like, you mean a cult that's more than half of the U.S. population? That came out and voted, and not only did we get the electoral vote, we got the popular vote. That's the cult. I mean, come on, guys.
I mean, there's one issue that I would have supported Musk and Trump on, and that's just free speech.
Yeah,
like, period.
That was it.
Full stop.
Well,
that is it.
All other rights will basically bleed forth from that, and that's what I mean. At the end of the day, it's like you said. It comes down to two people. And that's the thing, too, is that in both of these videos, there is one other thing that doesn't come up. They don't make the case for Harris. They just make the case against Trump. And their case against Trump is not very strong. So it's like, well, then you're not for anything. You're just saying, well, it's TDS, man. It's just TDS.
I'm pissed off at the current situation. That's great. Well, 100%. I guess if you are going to say that my putting free speech first, as in everybody should be able to speak, and all of the stuff that I have seen in my years of watching this, including a bunch of hippies from the Church of Weed, a Indian American senatorial candidate, and what was the other one? Like a bunch of free speech nerds being labeled Nazis by the frickin', do you remember the Boston thing?
I do, yeah.
And then the media labeled them Nazis, and they had 100,000 people descend on them. They were so lucky violence didn't break out. And why did they get labeled Nazis? Because the media completely silenced them, and they couldn't even express themselves and who they were and what they believed in. Number one, why do I believe in free speech? Because the people the media labels Nazis might not be Nazis at all. That's an incredible power. And the only way to confront it and diffuse it is free speech. Everybody has the right to speak. Okay? And free speech is free speech. People on the other side talk about free speech isn't consequence free. Well, then it's not free speech. Like, seriously, you do not counter hate speech with censorship. You counter it with facts and logic.
Better speech, basically, if you think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So on
All right.
that issue alone, I am 100% in the camp of Elon Musk and Trump. You don't even have to bring anything up. And incidentally, I know that Brian is probably going to be annoyed if I bring this up. I probably have the worst experience from one of potentially Trump's policies, which is the complexity of that situation is becoming more and more apparent because we've also run afoul of the Department of Homeland Security. So it might have been something going on there too. But I've had very negative experience as a direct result of presumably Trump's memo to the northern border. I was banned from the US for 5 years. And I can still say, being somebody whose life was directly impacted by one of Trump's policies, I'd still support him because he is pro free speech, right? It doesn't matter. Even at the cost, my own personal cost. You can ban me again, Trump, as long as you bring free speech back to get the US and Twitter. That's fine. All right, let's go.
All right,
I know
let's keep
he
going.
didn't do it personally.
No, I know. He wasn't sitting there going, is that Allison Tiemann? Ban her. 5 years. He had no idea. All right.
Slow learners with their "we won, you lost, cope harder" comments. Well, you're about to enter the find out part of the chart. You see, turkeys can quite happily vote for Christmas. It's quite possible to win the popular vote. And for people to sit there with a shit-eating grin on their face and a hole in their foot.
Okay, I'm not
mocking the
interested in Brexit.
Yeah, I know, but he's basically look. Thunderfoot's ultimate conclusion is everybody's
Brexit?
dumb because they don't vote the way I vote. That's it. That's his thing. Like, why are you all dumb? You're killing yourselves. This is really stupid, and that's it. And the thing is, the guy just keeps losing. Like he's I'm never when 2020 happened. Okay, just to clarify, when 2020 happened and we lost, I was very suspicious about shit that went down. But I didn't go online and cry. I didn't listen to the freaking Barbie song that all the women are listening to now while like shaving my head and freaking out. I just said, okay, we'll just have to, hopefully there'll be an investigation. Hopefully something will be discovered. And if not, hopefully we'll survive the next 4 years. And then I'll just, try again in 2024. And that's what I did. And it went fine. And suddenly after that, people are like, oh, wow, that's weird. The counts are really weird. Like there's an anomaly in 2020. There were like 17 million more votes that weren't there in any previous year or this year. It's like, it's an anomaly. I wonder what that's about. And I just sort of like shrugged and said, okay, well, I mean, like what's done is done. I'm not going to get mad about it. But I think that Thunderfoot's just really good at just being wrong. And he just continues to do that. And I think it's hubris. He just thinks he's smarter than everybody. He thinks he's smarter than Elon Musk. And I think that he's just a hater. And that makes it really easy to like get bored of his content because that's the ultimate goal is to be like, I hate this guy because he's doing well. And that's it,
Okay. I mean, all right. So I assume that he's judging Brexit by the principles of basically money, right? Whether or not
basically his whole thing is, well, I'll put it this way. He doesn't think Brexit should have happened because I think that he personally benefits from like more, state funding if he is part of a European Union, which the United Kingdom was until Brexit happened. And now that he is no longer part of that, he is resentful and he's trying to essentially do and set up an I told you so using the premise of something like GDP, this sort of abstract statistics, and not like the principle of being, a country, a sovereign nation on its own. And I think that that's what he's working from. So it's like, find the conclusion. Conclusion is Brexit bad. And now I have to like work backwards to figure out how to like make the case for that.
Well, but here's the thing. Like, you can also look at these things in terms of principles and not money. There was someone in our chat who said they came from a wealthy family, but still support socialism. And even though it doesn't matter, even though that would result in them having a lower standard of living. And it's like, yes, then you understand the idea of putting principles before money or personal interest. Okay, that's I
Well,
think
I mean, if
behind
you're like
Brexit.
super rich, then why don't you just give your money away instead
Yeah,
of
but
like
I don't want to
advocating
get
for a government that does it? No, I'm just saying like you think that this is a gotcha. Like, oh, I got you. I'm rich and I believe in socialism. Well, then give your fucking money away, bitch.
yeah, but
Put your money where your mouth is. Don't make the rest of us do it. You do it.
that's not really what the point that I wanted to make. I'm saying
Well,
that
I
that
know, but I'm just addressing that. But go ahead.
understands self-sacrifice for principles. So maybe Brexit is an issue of self-sacrifice for principles. And it's funny because both sides can do this. They don't understand the other side on this level. And I'm not both siding because, okay, let me put it this way. What's left of any kind of liberal principles looks at, I don't even want to call it conservative principles. What do we call Trump? Like constitutional.
Look, he's just an American, like he's just a common sense guy. It's basically like
Can I call him a constitutionalist then?
You could. I don't know that that's precise, but you could say that, sure.
Okay,
A patriot.
constitutional patriot. Okay,
Yeah.
somebody who believes in these individual freedoms and trend and Constitution. All right. Now you can understand why they would accept some kind of self-sacrifice in order to pursue their principles. And the other side should understand that too. If you're all rich people who say, well, socialism is good, and I'm willing to lose my money in order to get it. So you can understand, why can't you just, anyway, I'm wittering. Let's get back to the responding.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the bit about Trump, but let's keep going.
After all, the last time Trump was president, it didn't end in disaster, right?
Of course, he shows January 6th.
Well,
So this is his case, is that it's disaster because January 6th.
Yeah,
Go
what
ahead.
about all the Black Lives Matter?
Oh, no, that didn't happen, Allison. That had nothing to do with Trump. I mean,
So you guys had a protest in a supposedly free country.
well, who does the Capitol belong to?
It should belong to the people. But this
It
is
does.
This is the thing. This is what I don't understand. I have watched the footage. You had a protest at your Capitol. Please get over it.
Well, the thing is, people like Thunderfoot, like the rest of us, have gotten over it already. But like they just used this to poison the well, and it's to basically discredit people, because there were riots all over the country, not just in America, in Canada for some reason, in the UK. Like it was just all the Summer of Love was everywhere. Okay, and also the Capitol was also attacked like during that period or before that or something. But it had been attacked in the past. But that's not the thing that we have to relive every time somebody like Thunderfoot wants to make an argument. And January 6th, by the way, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that feds were there and there was all kinds of other shady shit. And the only person that died at that was one of the protesters. And she was killed by security at the White House. No Congress people, no government people, none of that. No cops were killed. None of that happened. So it's just, I mean, he's just, again, like, I thought that anybody at this point, it's been what, 3 years since this, would be at least like curious enough to want to look into this again. But Thunderfoot isn't, and that's why I think this is boring, because for him this is all useful. He has a case he wants to make. Everything has to support his case. It doesn't matter if it's been debunked. It doesn't matter, if it's taken out of context. It doesn't matter if the actual evidence completely disproves his claims. He's going to use it anyway. So Elon Musk lands a rocket backwards, and Thunderfoot says, yeah, but he's still dumb because Twitter is not profitable. So I'm just, it's just kind of exhausting. Oh, I got a super chow. Look at that. Cool. Okay, I got a super chow from Meredith G. And she gives us $5 and says, maintaining frame 126. The problem with Thunderfoot's arguments about Brexit is there are indicators that the British government made it as painful as possible so people would be willing to reverse that decision. The Labour government is just ramping up those efforts to subvert the will of the people. Yes, of course. And Thunderfoot, because again, you could show him this stuff. He's not going to care because he wants to make the case that Brexit was a mistake. It doesn't matter how hard the government made it for people who voted for it. And obviously the government would do that because it has an interest in staying in the European Union, that they don't care about their own citizens. They want this. And the same thing is true for like the people who have run our government and other governments. They have no interest in making it smaller. They have no interest in trimming the fat. They have no interest in giving the people the power, right, back, right? And this is why like they can't stand the potentially incoming administration. Whether or not it happens, they're terrified of it because like a lot of people with government jobs are going to lose their jobs. And I fucking thank you. It's like if we have any shot at like reducing our deficit or our debt or whatever, it's got to start there. We got to like trim the fat big time. And people like, Thunderfoot, they don't like that because they're statists. Statists worship the state. There are no atheists, guys. There's no such thing. You're going to worship something. And most of the time it's either you worship yourself, as in the case with all these woke game developers and writers and people that work in our creative industry, or you worship the state, as with Dark Matter 2525 and Thunderfoot. They worship the state. They are the cult. So,
and I worship men. No.
No, please don't. Don't do that.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, that's what they think I do as a pick me.
Yeah.
I think I worship the truth, honestly.
Well, that's there you go. That's a start.
Oh,
worship the truth.
Complaining about popping, no pop filter, and no, and echoing. I don't hear an echo at all. It was on the vertical chat, so I'm subtracting the special points. If you're on the horizontal,
I'm looking
chat,
I'm looking at the
give us a heads up if we're actually doing some popping and echoing, because I don't hear it.
Well,
and
the ear spurs are probably going to be like, oh.
Yeah, I do. See this?
People are saying it sounds fine.
That's a pop filter. Okay,
sounds
so
good to me.
I do
Chris.
have one.
Thank you, Kyle Terminator.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can only do what we can do. I am in a fairly large room, which might echo to somebody who has the hearing of like a nano ant. But it's like, what can I do about that unless I rebuild the entire building? Anyway, let's
all right. Anyway, let's keep going.
Okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as some people said it might be. Well, let's gloss over the lead. The things that have changed, like you now have an impulsive.
Well, now they're saying he's basically sharing again. This is okay. I think we can summarize his argument against Trump. So this is the thing that leftists. This is what and Brexit. It's all the same shit though. This is the thing that leftists do, and what I mean, and I mean statists as well, but leftists primarily. They appeal to authority all the time. They don't care how credible it is. But that's how they operate. So let's look at feminists so that people don't get triggered, but they're basically the same thing. How do feminists make their arguments? Well, they will say, we have a consensus from this authority, which is academia. And academia has put out a study, and this study is true because 97% of experts agree that this is true. And so therefore you can't refute it. So and they'll say things like, this court ruled in favor of this thing because of this. Therefore, feminism is right. Okay. Just using feminism as an example. The left doesn't care about the truth. They care about consensus. They care about getting like to a truth that comes from a higher power, which is like an earthly power, which is like an expert or a journalist or an academic or an intellectual or a writer or a philosopher or whatever, as long as those people agree with them. And then they'll say, well, like what's the thing that Destiny always brings up when it comes to immigration? He talks about the border bill. He says, oh, well, there was a border bill and Trump blocked it. Therefore, he actually doesn't care about immigration, and will not listen to the fact that the problem with the border bill, and Karen can go into it, but I'm not going to go too long, is that there was billions of dollars in pork that was like money for Ukraine and money for programs that had nothing to do with the border whatsoever. And so essentially what it was the Senate or whatever, they put together a bill and they were like, we will do this thing if you give us a bunch of money for this other shit. And that was why it was blocked. So they're like, no. We don't want to spend more money. We don't want to give Zelensky billions more dollars. We want to close the border. This is completely irrelevant. So we're going to block it, and you're going to have to draw up another bill in the future. Of course, they never did. But now they have this. They can always go back to and say, look, they don't actually care about this thing because we did this thing and they didn't go along with it. Of course, Destiny, being a moron, does not want to know. It's not just that he doesn't know that. He doesn't want to know that because he wants to win the argument. So he just goes with his whole, well, Trump blocked it, therefore he doesn't care. And this is the same with the convicted felon. So they got like the Justice Department and they got a corrupt judge to throw a bunch of charges at him. And they took his picture. And now people like Thunderfoot are like, oh, look, see, he's a convicted felon. Therefore, and yet we still came out and voted for him because we knew the truth. We knew the truth was it was all bullshit. And so we had to like, you know, come out and basically make our voices heard. And Thunderfoot can't handle it. So what does he have to conclude? He has to conclude that Americans are dumb because they voted for a convicted felon instead of like a fucking woman who nobody asked for, nobody voted for, was simply put there, a literal DEI hire, and we were supposed to elect that. And he's not going to address that because that doesn't serve his argument. His argument is not Kamala is better because he can't make that argument. His argument must be Trump supporters are dumb and they're in a cult. And that's why I said this is boring. Like I've absolutely demolished these crazy, stupid arguments from these people a million times, and I'm ready to move on, but they're not. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well, let's okay. In the interest of actually getting through this video, is there another point where he makes a point?
well, I got another super chat. Let me just read it really quick. Richard Beer for $5. He says the thing about establishing a global government is that with the current infighting within any given faction of the current society, how does anyone expect that there won't be the dividing into various factions all competing for the total power over everything, and that there won't be any infighting within each faction? Well, these people don't think that far ahead. And honestly, like these people at the top, these people that want to be, that are either in the sort of like elite class or they want to be in the elite class, they're really not concerned with how like people like me are affected by this stuff. Like we're just the rabble, you know, like that, like, and that's why I'm saying again, like these people need to get out of these, like out of this discussion. Like I'm sorry, but I don't give a fuck what like some British guy like somewhere else is saying about my country and what we're doing. I mean, obviously it's going to affect everybody, but like if you're not going to be an adult and actually look at things objectively, and you're just going to do this shit where you're like, oh, convicted felon, yeah, you're not a serious person. So,
All right.
oh yeah, Jojo is here, by the way. Yeah, he's here to take the edge off. All right, let me jump up to another.
Put him in the vertical. Put him in the oh, I guess you can't.
It would be a lot of work. I do that right now, but and there's not a lot of real estate. I don't know if I can.
I think we hit our big numbers when we have a doggo.
You think?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, so let's go to fascism and popularity, because of course we got to go there, right? Because this is what serious people do. They talk about fascism. So let's see. Well, I mean, this is what was requested of us.
Does he
an argument for it? No.
A legitimate? Okay.
No.
Those illegal immigrants, most of them have jobs in America and pay taxes. If you do,
that's not true. You can't. He says that illegal immigrants have jobs and pay taxes. Like you literally can't track it. How would you know?
Wouldn't it be counter? Like, so an illegal immigrant is going to pay taxes. Wouldn't that just?
Yeah. Why would they?
Deported?
Well, no, because he was told by the media said that they pay taxes, so he believes it. So he believes the media.
Sales tax?
What I mean, yeah, I guess they pay sales tax. I mean, you kind of have to, but like not every state has them. It doesn't matter though. Like, who cares if they pay taxes?
Okay, so
like, what does that mean? Like, they should still go back. I don't know why. What does that matter?
Okay, Patrick Kruger says a president who wants to consolidate power is the fucking definition of fascism. Does he though? Because okay, let me just, as an objective observer, I'm not totally up on all American politics as I'm a Canadian and I have my own, we have our own cross to bear, let's put it that way. But it seems to me that Trump wants to promote constitution and constitutional rights and states' rights.
Yeah, the first thing that fascists do is they try to increase free speech. I understand that's
like his speech was, I want to protect the First Amendment right, free speech, and then also his tendencies towards giving more power to the states and deregulating business. These are things that are actually reducing centralization of power, don't you think? Like, I mean,
Yes.
can you explain to me why that has become centralizing power? Because I look through political systems throughout history. So, for example, Louis XIV, he centralized power by bringing all of the government to Versailles, where he could keep an eye on it. Right. So that's like bringing everything into a central point, which is not the same as, saying we should have rule by law. It's rule of law. So wanting to promote the Constitution as rule of law. So the law applies to everyone, and everybody has the freedoms afforded by the Constitution. Wanting to put governments more local is the opposite of centralization. So just, I from my position, that seems to be wrong. Your assertion seems to be incorrect. But maybe I'm wrong. Well,
Well, we don't know if when he said that, if he was just sort of like trying to redefine it, or if he was trying to like label Trump with that. Because anyway, we can just keep going.
Do this, America's tax revenue will drop by about $100 billion. Additionally, you're looking at chopping some 10% out of the workforce, which would cripple the economy. Economies are like living organisms. You can't just cut off a foot or a head or whatever. And
the only jobs that are going to be lost are government jobs. Again, let us look at that.
Are immigrants actually taking government jobs?
Probably. I mean, like, if you think about it, they could. I mean, I don't know.
Look at this more holistically. All right.
Okay.
You realize that people are a resource, right? And what is happening is the West is appropriating resources from other countries so they can't actually use those resources to better themselves. And not only are we appropriating resources from other countries, we're doing so in such a way that we're destroying the source of these resources. And what I mean by that is when the cultures that are actually reproducing send their children to our culture, they also stop reproducing. So we are actually spreading a problem. We're like infecting other cultures with our problem. We bring them in, we infect them with our problem, and we only have it like for a moment. We're okay because we've put a plaster on the hemorrhage of our own problem. Do you get what I'm saying, Brian, or am I being too weird? Like,
can you rephrase it a little bit?
Rephrase it. Okay, right. The West has a problem, and that problem, you look at, we were sharing the birth rates of Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And almost everywhere is below replacement. Everywhere is below replacement in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to import people to keep up a population to maintain their infrastructure, etc. But when they import people, those people within a generation have the same reproduction rate. So what we're doing is we're destroying our future by doing this instead of getting home and solving the problem at home. Like, we're destroying humanity's future because we're taking every place that has this resource and we're turning it and we're sterilizing it basically by importing and promulgating our own fucking mental infection on everybody else. And I know it's not a very flattering way to put it, but it's what's happening. We have this problem, which is that we no longer know how to get men and women together and reproducing, right? And it is a massive problem. It is also behind a lot of our productivity slump. I mean, let's look at hunter-gatherer tribes. I know I'm going on a long little tangent here, and we don't have a lot of time, but hunter-gatherer tribes are on the razor's edge of survival, right? They don't have any ability to indulge shit because if they are not productive, they die. So they absolutely have to have a premium on productivity. They're like operating on a level of Olympic athlete versus like a couch potato in terms of eliciting productivity from their members. And what do? they arrange the relationship between men and women in such a way that they incentivize each other's productivity, right? So the most productive woman gets the best hunter. Okay, so she is capable of maintaining the most comfortable household. She's capable of managing the most amount of material goods. She gets the man who's most capable of bringing them in, right? That's what they do. They use that to incentivize productivity in men and women. We don't have that. It's not even that we're not even getting the point where people are reproducing. We're at the point where we have no ability. We don't understand anymore with the technology that we have how to get men and women to incentivize each other's productivity. And we are spreading that problem everywhere. And we're importing people who don't have as much of that problem to try to plaster over our problem. But once again, they get infected with the same problem. And this is not forward thinking. This is the so-called liberal response to this, the leftist response to this, the progressive response, the supposedly creative, open-minded, hey, let's try anything to solve a problem, is the most conservative, stupid response, which is, well, people who are poorer than us and can't stop us have resources we need. Let's go take them. And it still is this, even if you're taking the resources by giving a bunch of people some freaking blue beads, you're still selling them up the creek. You're selling these cultures up the creek because you're destroying them in the process, and you're not giving them anything of worth back. You're taking their resources. Even if you give them a couple blue beads, you're taking their resources, taking their children, and you're not giving anything back. And that is the progressive solution, is just to steal shit from other nations. And to think that you're not stealing it because you're supposedly giving a little bit back. You're not. Okay. Sorry.
It's all right. Yeah. So let's just keep going.
And say,
Yep.
well, it's only 10% of the biomass, and expect things to keep running as normal. Now, it's entirely possible that this is just like Trump's build the wall stuff, where it's just something he liked to talk about and never did. But, the other stuff, Trump's tariffs on everything would cripple America. The only maybe ray of
It only crippled the government, which is fine. Like, again, his whole problem is government jobs are going to be declining. And also, like, if he builds a wall, we're not going to be importing and like sex trafficking slaves and children, and like giving people like zero, below minimum wage to do laborious work that they claim the Americans wouldn't do, even though they're totally like willing to do it. But yeah, Thunderfoot's just a statist. He's just making statist arguments.
hope here is Trump's narcissism and his love of golf. See,
Yeah.
with a narcissist, it's all about me. And if you look at Trump like that, it's like, well, I only ran for president to avoid jail, and now these suckers and losers have elected me.
Oh my
This
God,
man,
this is so
I hate to
boring.
say
Like,
it. I hate to say it, but Thunderfoot, look in the mirror. You're
yeah.
surrounded by people who are willing to attack someone who simply says, "Hey, could you credit an artist?" You're in a fucking nepotistic echo chamber.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just boring stuff. Like I said,
Okay,
if you're still regurgitating like the lamestream media talking points, and you think you're making a case, like, you're just not a serious person. You just haven't been paying attention. Suckers and losers. There's not even any evidence that he ever said it, and he's still bringing it up. It's so boring. So Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, and by the way, Trump tried to build the wall, and he was blocked at every turn by Republicans and Democrats alike, because he didn't realize how swampy the swamp was. And now he's like trying to like address that. So, but of course, Thunderfoot just takes joy in the fact that he was blocked by bureaucrats, at every step when he was trying to do something that Americans wanted. He sees it as a victory, like, obviously you're dumb. Like, he loves feeling smarter than everybody else and then calling them narcissists. So Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, what did importing 20,000 Haitian migrants to Springfield, Ohio, due to the wage structure at that factory that was closed down for COVID? And what does converting single family homes into the equivalent of hostels do for housing availability? I have heard that landlords aren't renewing leases for families because it's more profitable to charge $200 a week per person and stack 16 to 20 people in a single house. But infinite migrants makes GDP line go up on the charts. Yeah, exactly. Well, these people, again, when you realize that the thing is not actually about the thing, and that we are dealing with compounding factors that have been going on since the Obama administration, that they're just using to make things like more, and then normalizing it. Like, well, I mean, what are you, a racist? You against like Venezuelan gangs taking over your apartment complex? What are you, a racist? And then some people are like, oh, I don't want to be seen as a racist. I guess I'll just open the window and smell those burning tires and not do anything about it. So and I'm just like, can we just have the adults back in the room and just talk about this like adults? But no, Thunderfoot wants to bitch and moan over there in his bubble.
All right. So what I'm seeing, first of all, there's a false dichotomy that I see happening. And I apologize for taking you all in my crazy circles. This way my brain works. It doesn't work very well for streaming, I guess. But the idea, there's a false dichotomy that we can't actually start reducing the amount of graft and pork in government and actually make it accountable. And then that means that you are incapable of being reasonable about government services. I mean, I am an anarchist, so I'm like, no government's good. But I recognize that if you're going to have one, it should be accountable, and it should have to indicate that it's getting results for whatever you apply it to, right? It shouldn't just be able to increase. Like, watching that one video of the guy who was talking to the constitutional lawyer in Washington, D.C., and they were doing a tour of Washington, D.C., and I wish I could remember his name, but I'm terrible with names. And they were going block after block after block of alphabet agencies, which they don't even have a freaking list of all of them. Mm-hmm. There are American agencies on the American taxpayers' dime, and nobody has any way of keeping them to account. They can't even list them all. That's ridiculous. That is not the way. And you can get rid of that and say, well, these government services have to be accountable to the people. They have to be accountable to results. You can do that. And I don't see why anybody would be against that. There needs to be oversight. You can't just keep growing government forever.
But Thunderfoot benefits, though. So, like, these people, that's what I'm saying. Like, Thunderfoot benefits from that. He doesn't care. He wants the government gives. If he had to actually like do something worthwhile in the world without getting paid based on merit, even as a scientist, he would probably fail. And that's why he hates Elon Musk, because Elon Musk can make his own money. He doesn't care about profits. He doesn't care. Yeah, he can land a rocket backwards. He's like, what? I'm sorry, but the problem with this is that Thunderfoot and Dark Matter both operate under the baseline presumptions that they disagree with, because they are statists, and anybody who wants to reduce the size of the state, whether you're an anarchist or a libertarian or just a right-wing guy or a minarchist, they're all the enemy to them, and they're all the same to them too. So, you can call yourself whatever you want. These people are going to see you as far right if you're interested in shrinking the government. That's it. You're far right. So,
and even if you're interested in shrinking the government in terms of getting rid of government and corporate collusion, good Lord. Like, I mean, the FDA shares its employees with big pharma. That shouldn't happen. That's insane.
It shouldn't. And that's the thing. Like, RFK wants to break that up. Or at least that's what he's saying. And
you're right. All of the statists who I've confronted about the COOF and the mandatory jabberoonies, and I've said, if you're going to make this mandatory, I don't think corporations should profit off of it. They've all gone mealy-mouthed and said, but that's blah, blah, blah. No, I don't think so. I don't think that if you are going to use the government to enforce the consumption of a product, that the corporation that's making that product should take a profit from it. That is an incredible moral hazard that shouldn't happen. And every single one of these supposed statists was okay with that. How can you be okay with that? But the other thing is, I don't even think status really captures it, because what I'm seeing happening is there is a group of individuals who think that printing money solves all problems. And they are embracing the idea that all the United States does is print money. That's it. They just print money, they send it out, they're the world reserve currency, and that's it. They don't have to concern themselves with being productive. They don't have to concern themselves with having a real economy, which means that they make goods that other people in the world want, so that their money is backed by something other than we'll print more of it. So there's this divide, and I would say that Trump is more about, let's create an economy that has inherent worth, not just printing more money. And it's such a short, like, I don't see printing more money as a virtue or a principle. I see it as an indulgence and an addiction. So we have a party of currency addiction versus the party of let's not do that and let's try to actually create something real. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure, of course, but it's still statist, Allison. I mean, it is like that's what it is. I'm sorry. Like let's stop dancing around it. These people don't care about money because they just don't understand it, for one, but they also don't need it. Like a lot of these people who are extremely powerful, they don't need money. That's why they're okay with voting it to be printed to infinity, because they already have what they need, and that's power. They get it from other people. So the people who support that, they just don't understand money. Or there are people like Thunderfoot who thinks, oh, government makes money, therefore I get money from government. I good, I happy, I science, I get money from government.
I think somebody in the chat is pushing back on the whole thing. Government programs should be accountable. Muddy Suds says, I don't know what this is, therefore it's useless. Ignorance is not intelligence. Well, Muddy Suds, I really wouldn't bet against me not understanding something. Although you guys like in the vertical chat think I'm going in circles. It's like, I'm not an unintelligent person. Usually I can figure something out. But here's the other thing. If there is no external standard that you can hold whatever alphabet agency we're talking to, then that alphabet agency doesn't know what it's doing either. Cut it.
I mean, like we had the government shut down one year for a few months. Nobody noticed. This is what I'm saying. Like the only reason why you think it's needed is there's nothing to do with whether or not you know what it is, what it does, or what its purpose is, but that you're just being told it exists. And then you're just like, well, it's the government. They're obviously doing whatever they need to do. I mean, nobody gets fired from the government for, like not doing their job well. Like that's that doesn't happen because there are no standards. There is no merit. It's just like, oh, I know a guy and he gave me a job. And they use the money like it doesn't run out, because there's no need for them to justify it, right? It's your money. They're taking it and they're using it however they like. You should know where that's going. That's not a controversial thing to say. So anyway, we this is too much of a digression. So how much time do we have before you have to go? Because you said you have a hard limit and you're muted. I can't hear you what you're saying.
Oof, muting. Okay. So I'm just going to finish this work. If I have to miss my writers meeting, then we'll do it. So I wanted to point out another thing in the vertical chat. Gerby Gibbs says, developed nations move beyond an economy based on making cheap consumer goods. Why would we possibly want to move backwards where we want our population to revolve around producing goods to export? So you just want to continue to exploit the rest of the world. In other words, the only thing you produce is money.
Wait. Well, how do we know that that's what a developed nation is? Like, what does that even mean? You're just saying shit. What does developed nation mean in your estimation? Do we not produce things? Like, all Americans want is for us to be able to produce material goods, bring back the productivity, like cars, metals, like chips, like maybe not ask China to have 2-year-olds put microchips together. Maybe we do it ourselves. Like why is that? Americans want to work. Why don't we let them work? I don't understand what this means. Why do we want to be a developed nation? What does that even mean?
Well, I think what they're saying is that it's a stage of development that an economy goes through where it supplies cheap goods as a general benefit. So it's actually supplying something in response to something else. And now apparently the US has transcended that stage and no longer has to supply anything in exchange for its money. So what would make a country's money valuable is that they would have particular exports that you could buy in their currency. And what this person is proposing is apparently that the US doesn't have to have anything, any service, any product that it has on offer for the world. So in other words, the US, and this is exactly what I was talking about. We have a party of people who think everything comes down to printing money. That's exactly what this person is saying. Why can't the US simply export its money? That's it.
Yeah, I mean, like,
the US's product is its dollar. Why
yeah, well,
why can't we do that? Well,
right.
because it's so, like, is that fair to the rest of the world?
Well, not only that, but like Americans, why can't, if we don't produce our own things for ourselves, then we're at the mercy of everybody else producing shit for us. So like, why aren't we just producing our own shit? And why not? I mean, before World War II was the United States was pretty isolationist. And I'm not saying we should go back that far, but like we should at least be producing our own crap, because it gives, first of all, it gives its productivity in the United States. We can get back to that. Plenty of Americans, especially men, because they're the ones that are going to be doing it, will finally have something to do, and they will be bringing value to our own citizens. Like, this is what we want. It's in our bones to do that in the United States.
Okay, how about this? If you actually get the US to the point where it becomes a productive nation again, and I don't know what it's going to be, maybe it'll be exports of creativity that actually solve the issue of men and women coming together and incentivizing each other's productivity. Once you do that, once you recharge the engine, you will have solved the motherfucking problem that we have, which is that men and women no longer incentivize each other's productivity in the West. If you can actually get that working, I don't know what that would look like. That is your win condition. Like right now, we're talking about this as in, why do we need to do it? Why don't we just be a decadent pre-fall empire and sit on having the world reserve currency and simply just give people, print money? It's not even printing money anymore. Just make a digit appear on a computer screen, and that's what the U.S. will do. They'll just sit on everything else that had the history of the U.S. building up the biggest economy, and then just give people monopoly money in exchange for goods that they give the U.S. citizens. Right? We'll just sit on that. Well, that is not a solution. It is not progress. It's not progressive. It's not taking the problem that humanity is facing right now and solving it. It's simply coasting into destruction. And not just destruction of humanity, also destruction of the environment, because we can't afford to have our population collapse with the infrastructure we do. We're going to be taking out a good chunk of the Earth's environment if that happens. So we're just going to explode, huh? And we're going to take out part of the Earth. That's your solution, as opposed to let's solve the problem. Who knows what the solution actually is? Let's recognize the problem and start working towards a solution. And that problem is that men and women no longer incentivize each other's productivity in the West. So when you look at, well, let's get the US productive again, let's not look at it as an end in of itself. Let's look at it as a win condition. In other words, if the US gets productive again, we have solved the problem that's plaguing the human race. And we will subsequently also have solved the problem that the human race poses to the environment. Okay, I don't know. Maybe nobody can understand what I'm saying.
Well, it's all right. Let's just keep going.
They're worth nothing to me now. They can't vote for me again because I can't run for president again. Constitutional limits, that sort of thing. So
That's
what's in it for me to do anything for them?
Yeah, it is.
Why isn't I just do things for me? Like, I enjoy like
He's already determined. He's thinking like a passive aggressive mean girl. He's basically determined what kind of person Trump is, and now he's just saying, "Well, now that I can read his mind, I know his intentions. Let me throw a whole bunch of allegations that are totally like not ridiculous at him." It's boring.
play golf and grifting. Maybe
Yeah,
stacking
it's
the
grift.
government with lawyers.
The billionaire is a grifter.
Lists. That's maybe worth something to me. And honestly, this was kind of why I was surprised that Trump won, because he was so low energy. I mean, damn, even after he won, he reads his victory speech in the monotone of reading a phone book of the auto cue.
Overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is.
I don't know if you know how many rallies this guy was doing. I mean, he was all over the country multiple times, constantly. It was hard to believe. But yeah, low energy, sure, Thunderfoot, sure. I'm sure you're
That's
gonna
not
get
a-
off your ass and travel to all
That's
of
not
Europe.
really a okay. Is there okay of all of his
The things
criticism?
he's just
Yeah,
throwing insults. It's just
I
insults.
didn't. I actually had a completely different response to this. It seemed like Trump had lost a lot of that bombast. I mean, like for me, some of that was not really didn't really resonate with me. I'll put it that way, and that he was actually speaking from a genuine place, not just of what he wanted to see happening, but what he would sacrifice for. Right.
Yeah.
And that's my impression of this speech. So hell, maybe it was low energy, or maybe it was just somebody who realizes that the things.
Oh, you know, it's funny, but when he was running in
could get him
2016, and he was like, you know, more I guess aggressive, people were like complaining about him, and now that he's like chilled out, people are complaining about him. What a surprise. It's the same people. It's almost like nothing he could do would be enough, because they just don't like him, and everything else is just like the reasoning behind it post hoc.
Okay.
It's now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing.
It was like he just didn't care anymore. And apparently neither did his supporters.
Couldn't read minds.
He threw
Here
out
we go.
endless streams of stuff that would have gone straight
This
into
is
cartoonishly evil caricatures of fascism in movies. That is
What are you talking about?
yeah, no,
Central pillar of the
Allison,
speech was freedom of speech.
Allison, he put a Trump clip and then he put a V for Vendetta clip next to each other. You can't argue against that. He just showed you two clips side by side. Like it's over. It's over for Trump cells now because V for Vendetta exists.
Okay, all right. Is there an
By the way, Alan Moore, fucking communist, who hated Margaret Thatcher. I don't know if you guys know this, but Britain survived her run as prime minister. They survived. And now they're fucked for different reasons.
Were his supporters at his rallies. But while they might not have been there at his rallies, they turned up to vote. As Trump said almost a decade ago, he had the most loyal fans. He could go out and shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and they would still vote for him.
And you know what else they say about my people? The polls.
Oh, again, this is from 2016 when he was running, and he made this crack. Like, you can't make jokes with these people because they never take you seriously. They always take you literally. So if you make a joke, they'll use it against you. Like that guy, Tony, what's his name? He made that joke about Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage. And of course, the legacy media went crazy. Oh my God, he's saying this. It's over. Puerto Ricans are going to vote against him. And sure, Fat Joe and Jennifer Lopez and a bunch of other people that went to the Diddy parties came out and they condemned it. But the truth is that Puerto Rico is turning into an island of garbage because they have a landfill crisis that the Biden administration did not address. Why didn't they? Well, maybe so that they could use it later like they just did, so they can like demonize people who actually bring it up. Because the government of Puerto Rico is corrupt. And they're so corrupt that they got Puerto Ricans that live there thinking that their suffering is the fault of the Republicans somehow. But anyway.
They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand...
You can jump ahead a little bit.
That there are no people in the seats in front of you. And that Trump is lying to you, and that...
Yeah, this is footage of people leaving the rally. So of course they got empty seats, and he's like, "Look, no, he's not popular." And this is all. It's also very childish because he's basically saying he's making the same appeal. Okay, this appeal to authority, this appeal to popularity, this appeal to consensus, where he says, "Look, the rallies weren't that full, therefore he's not popular, therefore he's not good," or my people, Dr. Fauci is an expert. He believes in the jab. Therefore, he's good. Therefore, jab good. I go get jab. I scientist. I mean, that's, I'm sorry, Allison, but that's really the extent of the depth of this conversation. It is the depth. So,
You're apologizing because this conversation has no fucking substance.
no,
Well,
that's it. This is what Thunderfoot does.
Aggravates me. This is what aggravates me about the entirety of the people who have aligned themselves with what they call the left. All right. You guys have nothing. You have nothing creative. You have nothing progressive. Don't even recognize problems anymore. You just annoy people. Right. That's it. That's all you got. And you got a threat narrative against men. Great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You are boring. You are so boring and so unintelligent and so uninspired and so drab. Get some new material. Be creative.
This is what TDS does. We need like a ribbon for TDS. What color should it be? Orange. We need an orange ribbon everybody wears to show that you support the people with Trump derangement syndrome, because they're not going to be able to have mature adult conversations. They're not willing to fix things. They're not willing to talk about solutions. They have nothing. Yeah, they just hate. Yeah, hate on Elon Musk because he's doing well. Hate on Elon Musk because he likes freedom of speech and wants to shrink the government. And it comes back to what I said before. This is like the root of Thunderfoot's arguments. He wants to keep getting money from the state, because if he went to like private citizens and said, "Hey, can you give me, $500,000 so I can put a shrimp on a treadmill?" they would laugh in his face, because they would actually have to spend their money. And I'm not for that. I mean, do you want to look up the crazy things that the science?
I agree. I don't.
You don't disagree? You don't think I'm wrong?
Okay. I don't think you're wrong. I don't.
Yeah.
Even crazier, like the shit.
I'm sure.
With minority groups and
I think giving lobsters like fentanyl or something, or lean. I don't know. Like just really dumb shit. Let's put animals on drugs and see what happens.
Well, at least they're not doing it to people,
I'm gonna get an orange ribbon. I'm gonna start wearing it. But anyway.
Okay. Anything interesting? At any point when you were watching this, did you say, "Oh, that's vaguely interesting"?
No, not really. But here, let's look at more clips from V for Vendetta. So he makes his argument about the fascism, because he watched this movie.
Rallies cut together seamlessly, not with Hitler, but with cartoon-level fascism.
We did what we had to do. Islington, Enfield, I was there, I saw it all.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
Immigrants, Muslims,
Illegals, they get whatever they want, don't they?
homosexuals,
Her and her pimp handlers.
terrorists.
They're on the side of the terrorists.
It's poisoning the blood of our country. It's so bad, and people are coming in with disease.
Disease-ridden degenerates. They had to.
I don't know. It's just
no. The thing is, they're mocking. What's interesting about both sides, and I know
both sides.
Yeah, I'm going to do the both sides thing.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, what's interesting is, and this is a maybe think about this in like I'm responding in a Platonic universe. Is that when you have two sides of an argument? I'm not going to say both sides of a political situation, but one side always goes after the emotional reasoning of the other. And then the other side goes after the emotional reasoning of subsequent, but they never go after what makes sense. Like, which is interesting because it's motivated reasoning to go after the emotional reasoning of the side. Now, there may be a sense of disease, like that on the right, there's a stronger sense of wanting to maintain national sovereignty and boundaries. And that comes out of a distaste for disease. I think that this is not the situation. I think that there's a very logical reason to start curtailing the immigration, because you can't, like, at some point you got to stop people coming on the boat or the boat sinks, right? That's just a logical reality. But the point is that instead of engaging with the logical argument, Thunderfoot is insulting or at least alleging and projecting this idea that the response, the actual argument isn't logical, it's emotional. And it's emotional,
Of course, yeah.
disgust response towards immigrants, not a structural response of, hey, we can't take more on and we need to fix our problems. And oh, by the way, poaching other people, the resources of other countries isn't the way to solve something long term. I can see in 100 years, people like Thunderfoot, people looking back and seeing people like Thunderfoot advocating for a system of a neo-Western colonialism. In other words, the West has problems, so it just imports resources from other countries to solve those problems. You could easily frame it in that way. We need to solve our problems. But regardless, he's saying that the anti-immigration, or the not even anti-immigration, the anti-illegal immigration is coming out of a place of an emotional argument, a disgust-based, let's keep our boundaries disease-free kind of argument. And he's not engaging with the logical aspects, the structural and systemic aspects of that argument. You know, and I say this as a person, you know, I feel like I maybe got caught in that disgust-based response. As a Canadian, we are pretty disgusting, I must say. But I can see that this is what it is, dishonest. Are you saying, Underfoot, that there is absolutely no argument against immigration ever? Or illegal immigration, especially illegal immigration? There's absolutely no argument against illegal immigration at all, ever. None whatsoever. Right? Hey,
I mean, he's like, the thing is that, yeah, I don't think he does. I think that he's about creating this frame that not Americans, specifically Trumpian right-wing Republican types, are Islamophobic and homophobic and all these other things, and he knows it's true because he hates Trump. He hates Trump because he hates how the election affected the Brits, because Brexit and Trump's getting into office happened about the same time. He hates Brexit because it takes away his gibs, which he gets from the government so he can perform his ridiculous science experiments. So it's all consequential. His goal is to discredit Trump and to make Trump supporters look bad, and to make Elon Musk look bad, because Elon Musk also flies in the face of what he stands for. So he uses whatever. It's not even about principles. He has no principles. He doesn't care about hypocrisy. He doesn't care about like what the effects are, what the logic is behind any of this. He just wants the conclusion to be he is the best, he is smart, he deserves money, and other people are grifters and liars and bigots, and that's it. And he'll use this movie that was made by a couple of, you know, left-wing tranny activists, essentially the Wachowski brothers, that was based on a book written by a straight-up communist that lives in a trailer park somewhere, Alan Moore, who basically thought Margaret Thatcher was a fascist and based the setting on this. So you have, like, what is it, three levels of removal from the same people who hold the same opinions all the way down to Thunderfoot, and he presents it like he's got data, and then people are just going to suck it up, and there's probably people in his comments going, yup, and they're just the same. It's like, you know, you got Margaret Thatcher runs, Alan Moore hates her, makes a comic book about it, completely ridiculous, by the way. None of that happened in Britain, but he was like so sure it was going to, because he despises, I guess, people who have common sense. And then the Wachowskis see it and they're like, oh, we're going to adapt this. And they make a movie out of it. And then Thunderfoot sees the movie and says, that looks like Trump's America, and makes his video and uses that as his argument for it. So, I mean, we can go all around, like, with all of the specific data about like what people should be doing and how they should be having conversations. But I'm telling you, I've been doing this for like 11 years now. And what I have realized is that Leftists do not care about data. They don't care about truth. They don't care about hypocrisy. They only care about accomplishing their goals, which is essentially validating their own existence so they can continue to collect a paycheck. That goes for feminists, communists, racial activists, gay activists, all the people in our government, all the people in our academic institutions, all the people in our journalism spaces, all of them. Influencers, Hassan Pikers, Destinies, they all do that. They don't give a fuck about principles. They don't care about right and wrong. They hate God, and that's true. And this is all about just going against all of those things to justify themselves. So, I mean, there's no substance. Like, I already know. If I said this to Thunderfoot, he'd probably just leave because he wouldn't have an argument against it. So,
we probably just call you a cultist.
Yeah, he would call me a cultist. Yeah,
which is interesting because I think we were on similar sides when it came to Gamergate, but I don't know, weird things happen. But what I wanted to say is, can we just get over these emotional arguments and saying that your opponent is arguing out of emotion is also an emotional argument. Find Thunderfoot. Find the strongest rational arguments for your opposing side and discuss them. All right, let's get this out of the gutter. But I don't see that. Does he at any point in this long video, this 27-minute video, does he at any point appeal to something that is, like he says, okay, well, this is the position of what the Trump administration represents. This is the logical reason why they assert this, and this is the logical counter argument. At any point?
No.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
All right. If there's something specific that Richard Bier wanted me to address, just let me know.
I don't know.
It is, and I'll just try to respond to it.
Richard, if you have a specific time code, just send it to us. He's not even watching it. He's watching Breaking Bad right now.
Yeah.
Good Lord. You've asked us to go through this, Richard, and you're not even freaking watching the stream.
All right, so this is Dark Matter 2525, and I'm just going to tell you right up front, he makes the same bullshit arguments. It's not different from Thunderfoot's, really. It's probably more concise. That's about it. So let me see. Time codes for this one. Understanding the Trump voter base. So he's going to tell us what people like me are like, what we are.
I apologize for this video. It's not this video at all. It's just sort of thrown together. But a lot of people ask me.
No, he's basically saying, look, I didn't even want to talk about this, but everybody's asking me to. So I guess I'll do a low effort video addressing your concerns.
Okay, again, anything. This is the position that the Trump administration takes. These are the logical arguments against that position. At any point, do we see that? Or is it all Trump voters stupid, orange men bad, they have ugly emotions towards immigrants?
All right, let's go right here. Here's something, I guess.
He focused on the number of bombs Trump dropped. When I presented the numbers, he said, but look at Obama. Look at how high they were when Trump took office. And
he's trying to make the case that Trump was like as bad or worse of a warmonger than other administrations.
I got to expand this because it's a little bit fuzzy, and I got my welding goggles on. All right, so in 2016, Obama dropped 3,743 bombs, which is like a 5-fold increase over 2014. So we're seeing under Obama Biden, not Biden, or no, that's Obama. Massive increases in the number. Now, this is moving, like it's increasing, not exponentially, but it's increasing. And under Trump, like the first year of Trump's in office, yes, he does almost 40,000 bombs, but then it goes down to 9, then down to 5, then down to 1,000. So we're seeing a massive decrease in the number of bombs being dropped by Trump. And you could probably argue that the 2007 effect of going up to 40,000 was a momentum, basically, from previous previous years. So we're setting up a momentum. Obama's setting up a momentum of increasing the bombs, although holy shit, it was 2012 and 2013. Were they not even paying attention? What was going on?
I don't know. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they didn't start recording it until later. Couldn't
Yeah.
tell you. I know that Bill Clinton was bombing the shit out of the Middle East, but like the media when Bill Clinton was in office and when Obama was in office, the media wasn't really reporting on what was going on down there, so we had to learn this later. But yeah, I mean, like this has been going on for a long time, and I mean, I think that what dark matter has to contend with, because essentially, again, this is like what I said before, he has to conclude that Trump is bad. Okay, he has to. He just hates him. We know it's irrational. Again, he was also telling people to go get jabbed, telling people to get their boosters. He was completely behind all of that shit as well, and will not take it back and will not step outside of himself and say, holy shit, maybe I was wrong about the science, because he loves science. So he also needs to double down on this. This is what they always do. But he won't address the fact that Trump started no new wars under his administration. He was the only one in like God knows how long. Okay.
Well,
if there was nothing else you could take away from that, you could make that objective claim and you couldn't really refute it. But of course, he won't do that because he doesn't even confront that. He just pretends like that's not there.
Okay, but what is he trying to say here? Because
well, I'm going to play it. He basically
right.
says he talked to a friend who's a Trump supporter, and that the friend was saying, look, he was using the number of bombs dropped, as the example case of, I guess, why Trump was not like a warmonger. So,
and then when Trump came into office, he inherited the wars. So they were high under him, yes, but then look what happened by the end of Trump's term. The number of bombs declined. Now, first of all, that's not entirely true, because you can clearly see that they were ramping back up in Yemen, which Trump enabled with his unethical weapons sales to Saudi Arabia, a main point of contention in my video. Now, the whole point of my criticism, however, was to dispel this idea that the Trump years were peaceful. It's perfectly valid to point out that the bombing campaigns in other areas were being drawn down. That's a good thing, but it doesn't really address my point. Now, keep the logic for his argument in your mind. Trump inherited the wars from prior presidents.
I'm just pausing there for the banana.
Okay, but he just said that Trump didn't start any new wars.
No. Okay, so I think the guy that dark matter is refuting was a friend of his, and he's sort of framing his friend's claim was that the Trump years were peaceful.
Okay,
that's probably a straw man of that, but like there is no time in history where everything is peaceful. So
okay, wait. Didn't dark matter concede that Trump didn't start any new wars?
He did, yeah. He had to, but he's trying to make a different argument that.
Well, if you concede that Trump didn't start any new wars, then the wars that Trump prosecuted were inherited from other presidents.
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's do this.
That's the logic. That being said, compare that to his second criticism, which was about the economy. And this one is more important in terms of the election, because according to the exit polls, it's the reason Trump got elected again. His argument was, look at how inflation spiked under Biden. Look at how everything got more expensive under Biden. Now, notice how when it came to the bombs, he acknowledged cause and effect. Trump inherited wars from prior presidents, so he had to drop bombs. His hand was forced. But notice how this same charity is not applied to Biden when it comes to how disastrous 2020 was in terms of the economy. What happened during 2020 was so bad that it was going to affect the economy the following years.
What happened in 2020?
Yeah, but that's not okay. All right. That's a bit. Well, what happened in 2020 was no doubt something he was for. Like everybody knew. Like even the people who advocated for the Koofaloof.
Well, the lockdowns were not done by Trump. The lockdowns were done by the states, specifically the blue ones.
Okay, but
And
I'll call it the Koof Coop.
Okay. All right.
Just in case. All right. So everybody, even the people who were proponents of the coup, they knew that that would result in an economic slowdown, which that itself would eventually result in inflation. Right? We all knew that. That was going to be the cost of saving grandma, whether or not she wanted to be saved. Right? That was the cost of the coup. So, yeah, I guess you can't say Biden was directly responsible for it. I don't think he really helped. So let's get back.
What
again.
what if like the reaction to the coup was done specifically to undermine the things that Trump wanted to do? I mean, without getting, and I don't think that's conspiratorial, because most of the people who locked down the hardest were the ones that opposed him the most.
I don't
And
think
when
they
Florida tried to open up, they were like, "Oh, look at how awful they are. Look at what Ron DeSantis is doing."
Yeah,
And then
I think
we
that
also have the riots that also did economic damage, which was allowed to go on for months and months and months. And like those cities that were impacted, like my hometown of Chicago and Minneapolis, they're never going to recover. Like not in my lifetime. And so
Yeah.
those will affect the economy.
I know, but okay. I think okay, what I want to do is I want to argue the logic. What he's saying is that his friend is making the excuse that Trump's bombs were a result of him inheriting wars, but
Mhm.
that Trump's economy was the result of
Biden's
Obama.
economy. Biden's
And
economy.
Biden's economy is the result of Trump.
Yeah.
Okay, well, honestly, this is what I'm going to say. The American economy is the result of becoming the world currency, leaning on the world currency in order, so exporting debt instead of exporting actual goods, and getting rid of your industry because it's cheaper overseas. So I don't know if Trump is necessarily going to move the needle on that much, because he's now inheriting the result of decades and decades and decades of decisions to gut the economy and replace it with basically a currency exportation system. And also the coup and also the riots, So, I mean, but so the economy is a much more difficult thing. You can't really, what I'm ultimately saying is that the economy is much more complicated than whether or not a president starts a war or ends a war.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you can't necessarily pinpoint when the economy is good or bad. Or I think that I personally said in 2019 that there were symptoms of recession, but I'm not even sure you can pin that on Trump, because this is the result of years and years and years of decision making, right?
Sure.
Replacing an economy that's productive with an economy that simply exports money. Right.
Mhm.
That's years and years and years of decisions in the making. And so, I mean, like, I don't think you can really put that on Trump's shoulders. I also am not sure if he's going to be able to completely turn that around either, because it's decades of these kinds of decisions, of these kinds of what Brian would term status decisions, which are funded by the ability to just print monopoly money. Right.
Yeah. Well, and also,
what you
take money from citizens.
Yeah, but what you
So-
can see, what you can see, and is much more black and white, is the wars, right? So I'm saying that this parallel is dishonest, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He did not start new wars. Biden started how many new wars? 3?
Well,
4?
we have 3 of them, 3 at least that we know of. I don't know if he started them, but he was certainly like, a lot of it happened like right under his watch, because he was, for whatever reason, like it was almost like it was ready to go. Like Russia invading Ukraine and the October 7th, all this stuff. It was just like Taiwan, like all this stuff was just ready to go. And under Trump, none of this was happening. So
yeah. So like a whole bunch of stuff happened. And then presumably the bombing ramped up again, or maybe they got more clever and made proxy wars more. But here's the thing, like, the more you lean on the statist argument, the idea that what the US needs to do is just export money, which is exploitative, guys. If you're handing people something that's worthless for something that's worth something, then that's exploitative. I mean, it's not worthless because it's a stable currency, right? But it's because of the faith invested in the American economy that you guys can do this. You can export debt. And I don't mean you as in Brian. I mean you as in the swamp in Washington, D.C., or whatever you want to call it, the entrenched bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. All right? You guys can do this because you are the world reserve currency, because people will take your money for nothing and your chicks for free. Actually, nobody wants American chicks. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nobody wants Canadian chicks either. But anyway, but the thing is that this is a cost. The wars are the cost of this. Enforcing people using your dollar. So essentially that system is a system of exporting money and exporting war, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the leftists are advocating for that system. Why are you doing that? You're enforced consumption on the American people, because of course that's the best way to keep the GDP up, is to make Americans consume, and then go bomb people that want to get off your currency, and then just print more currency and for goods that is not backed by any kind of productivity. It's just backed by the fact that you're enforcing consumption on Americans. And so it's like this bomb money, forced consumption, immigration, industrial complex that these leftists are advocating for. And it's like, what principles are those except self-interest? Oh yeah, all right. So I said a lot of stuff, so I'm going to I don't know if any of that made sense to you, Brian. I don't mean
it's fine. I just I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I don't think that this guy cares.
No, of course he doesn't care. He just wants to make a disingenuous argument.
Yeah, he wants to win.
He wants to continue to argue after conceding the point. Trump didn't start new wars. And he didn't start new wars because he was focusing on something other than the immigration bombs, world currency industrial complex.
Yeah.
I need to find a snappier way of referring to it. The dollar industrial complex.
Spiked after COVID and then came back down. Cause and effect. COVID happened under Trump, and then Biden inherited the economic fallout. Just like Trump inherited the wars.
Yeah, again, the thing about this, because he's basically trying to say that he's expanding on the point that you were bringing up, that you were responding to already. But he's trying to say, COVID happened, Biden inherited it, and for some reason we're supposed to blame him. But again, Trump had a plan at the time. This was a unique and novel experience we were all having. At least that's what we thought at the time. He had a plan, but the states that hated him, the bureaucracy, the deep state, the military industrial complex, the swamp, whatever you want to call it, they were all against him because they wanted this to become a problem, because they wanted to hurt his economy. And yes, then Biden went in there, and then he gets to blame the last guy while also going along with all that. So the COVID thing went on way longer than it was supposed to, and that's not because of Trump. Sorry. So
Biden lowered.
Okay, keep going.
Inflation and lowered the deficit, just like Trump lowered the number of bombs dropped. But notice how only one is acknowledged, but not the other, because it's political bias, compartmentalized logic.
Wait.
Look at the.
Wait. So the fact that inflation peaked under Biden is not something that we're going to acknowledge. I mean, I'm honestly, like, one of the things that bugs me about this politics is that, and I'm going to both sides. I'm sorry, Brian. The economy is not something you can really pin on the current president, and nor the previous president. It is an ongoing problem. And the ongoing problem is that the dollar industrial complex is taking over, or has already taken over. Yeah. And it's a completely different type of economy. And you can blame, basically blame the right, blame the left, or whatever you think the party is. But this is an ongoing problem that needs a solution, and we can't necessarily appeal to conservative values for it. We need a creative, forward-thinking solution. But I don't see the left even acknowledging it. The left's solution is to just push it harder, is to just continue to basically rape the rest of the world.
Mhm.
Which is really bizarre because they're like, oh, we care about other people. No, you don't. You don't obviously don't care about other cultures when you import you basically strip mine them of their resources, which are people, and and you obviously don't seem to care about the fact that of not starting more wars, or at the very least you seem very quick to sell a war to yourself if you're on what we call the left now. So it's like you don't have a solution to this. In fact, in many ways, I think the left thinks that the dollar industrial complex is a solution. It's all you need. Okay, I'm really sorry. I know I'm being
That's all right.
confusing.
That's all right. Let's keep going.
Is I had more money under Trump and I had less money under Biden. Therefore, Trump good and Biden bad. Therefore, vote for Trump. Easy, simple, and dumb.
What is
So
that?
if you guys thought that shit costs too much money these days, you're just dumb, guys.
Okay, wait, go
But Dark
back.
Matter 2525, the super highly intelligent, science-loving atheist guy, just told you. So yeah,
What is
number
this?
go up, number good.
Billions of dollars deficit?
Yeah, the deficit is what he's saying.
Well, the deficit went. Well, yes,
go
the
ahead.
2020 was the coup, right?
And the riots, but yes, the coup mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
that's
I think something like a pandemic would have an effect on the economy, but he's saying that you're being dumb by like not appropriately blaming the right person, I guess. It's not really about blame, by the way. I don't think anyone all we want is solutions. Like I think most people who voted for Trump this time, they weren't like I'm blaming so and so. They're just like, "Okay, I want this fixed and these last 4 years have been hell, so I'm voting for the other guy." That was it. I think people made rational choices. I don't think they're dumb. I don't think the average person is that dumb. I think that this guy is being extremely arrogant.
okay.
So
Well, how's this for another rational choice? Let's set aside the economy. Trump very much didn't start new wars. Maybe there's a bunch of young men who are of draft age who appreciate not having a new war started, and maybe a president who's going to stop some wars, right? Or
yeah,
or reduce them, or maybe a president who goes out with wanting to support free speech, right? That kind of thing. Like as I said, the economy is a very complex thing. I don't think the two-party system is going to fix the American economy. There's something more fundamental that has to change or to fix it. And that fundamental thing is going to be looking at the actual problem and developing a solution. And the actual problem is that everywhere, not just in the US, everywhere is seeing a productivity collapse, except like emerging economies.
Mhm.
And we're seeing a productivity collapse because we no longer know how to incentivize productivity in people. I mean, people are quiet quitting. They don't want certain jobs because we're just a culture that doesn't know how to make its people productive, how to inspire it to be productive. That's the solution. That's the problem that we need to fix. And like I said, I don't think it's a two-party problem because I think it's a bottom-up problem. But I think that if we're going to fix something that requires a bottom-up solution, a president, if I were to be so bold as a Canadian, a president who's focusing on giving power back to local governance, giving power back to small business, and making sure that we have freedom of speech, we're more likely to be able to solve that problem in that kind of a scenario than we are with a president who's like, yeah, I'm going to continue to censor. I'm going to continue to increase regulations. I'm going to lean even harder on the dollar industrial complex. And yeah, so there you go. I'm not saying that the guy's a messiah, but again, just the free speech issue. It's fine by me.
Well, I think the state does have a role, and that role is to essentially get out of the way. But because we have one regardless, and if that is the goal, then yeah, that's what it should be. The viable The viable role of the state is, in fact, to just protect our rights and protect our borders and protect our people. That's it, and get out of the way. And I think and I think part of that also is about reducing the bloat. I mean, the government spends trillions on the employees. I think we could stand to lose a lot of those people.
You know what? I can actually respond to that guy, the previous comment in the vertical chat, who said, well, I don't want to go back to being productive, having a productive economy that produces stuff. Well, if you don't want to go back to it, then you are embracing all of the issues that the dollar industrial complex makes, which means you have to embrace war on culture or on economies that decide to try to seed from that system. You have to embrace immigration, or actually poaching, illegal immigration, poaching from other cultures in order to bring in resources that you require to keep your mill still moving. Like you have to embrace you have to embrace forced consumption. Like that's what really, honestly, I think that's what the coup was really about. It was about getting people used to the idea of forced consumption, like consumption with no personal oversight. Like you don't have a choice. You have to consume this corporate product. It's really great for the GDP if you think about it.
Yeah, but yeah. All right.
So you're embracing all of that when you're embracing predatory behavior towards the rest of the world, when you embrace this idea that the US doesn't have to be productive. Do you see what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah.
And I think that most Americans, they do want to have a productive and healthy economy, and that means a productive and healthy, family.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's keep going.
All right.
Trump. Easy, simple, and dumb. So what happens next? One of two narratives. The Biden recovery is successful and Trump inherits the benefits. The economy does well and Trump gets 100% of the credit. Everyone who voted for Trump feels vindicated, even though they shouldn't.
So he's basically already setting, again, this is what I'm talking about. These people are ridiculous. He's already saying if everything goes well, then it's undeserved. Trump doesn't deserve the credit for it. Okay. So even if he does all of the stuff he sets out to do and guts the government, cuts the spending, increases whatever it is, builds the wall, all of that, ends the wars in Ukraine, ends the wars with Israel, Palestine, puts China in check, puts North Korea in check, whatever it is. If he does all of that stuff, he doesn't deserve the credit because Biden was already doing it. That's what he is claiming, while simultaneously trying to make the argument that if things improve and we give Trump the credit, we're the ones that are in the wrong, right? So he's basically this is all framing, guys. He's just setting up the frame so that no matter what the outcome, he's right because he's smarter than us. So,
well, and this is what I would say. He has a point with the economy. I don't actually think he's making the point that I'm making. I am improving his point by saying you can't, the economy is the result of a lot of bottom up activity.
Understandable, Allison. But let's say, because this is the thing, okay? Trump can't make people at the bottom go get jobs and start businesses. But he can make it easier for them to get jobs by deporting illegal aliens that are working jobs that Americans could be working. So if he just did that, which is part of protecting the border, which is a legitimate function of a federal government, then people would go get jobs and then the economy would improve, have a better opportunity to improve from the bottom up. If he guts the government spending so that we're not spending billions to Israel or billions to Zelensky, if he decreases the spending there, then that will be more money that we can keep in our pockets as taxpayers, which would also further incentivize people that are working to contribute because they know that they're going to be able to keep more of their own money. If he guts the Department of Education, which they're talking about eliminating from the federal level, then that means that the kids, because the Department of Education is not education, he's not getting rid of all of it, he's just getting rid of the federal level, then it is spending less money again so that the states can do it, and they'll probably be more likely to do things in a fashion that is actually good for children, like people who are getting education. All these other things and the free speech thing is actually going to affect the economy. I know that you're talking about something that he has inherited from decades past, but I'm saying that if he starts the machine of, the process of repairing the damage in his term, we may not see it in those 4 years, but I do think that there will be, like, if that is the case, there will be something to credit him for that Dark Matter 2525 will not give, because he has already established the framing. So he's not going to change his mind on that.
I mean, okay, let's put it this way. You can't really blame Obama. You can't blame Biden. Well, maybe a little bit Biden. You can't blame Trump. The economy is something that's, I honestly think it's well out of the hands of the executive branch. But you can credit him for not starting any other wars.
Well, yeah, but again, he could also get out of the way. Like, if you
get out of the way.
If you deport the illegals, I'm telling you, it's going to improve the economy. And the only person you can credit for deporting the illegals is the federal government. It's the one thing they should be doing. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he should be making up jobs. I'm not saying people, because like Biden, they were like, oh, we have so many million more jobs. Yeah, but they're all government jobs. So that's nothing. Yeah. That means that you're just paying into, it's like plugging, the plug into like the what is the meme where it's like a picture of a power strip and the plug is plugged into the power strip. Like, that's not creating jobs. That's just that's just circulating the money that you're already printing. But if you actually alter the landscape in the way that is within the reach of the federal government to do, which is to deport the illegals, then that will essentially open up the space for regular Americans, like the people who live in the hollows that are not, like, because he also wants to drill, right? That's going to bring jobs back as well. And he'll probably privatize it to some degree, which is also good. Again, I know people are blackpilling about it. I'm not saying that this is going to happen or this is not going to happen. I'm saying that this is a legitimate function of government that can do that does deserve to be credited in that way. And I think we can do that. I don't think it's out of reach.
Yeah.
Zeranx gave us $5. Oh, did you want to say something before I read the super chat?
Okay, well, I just wanted to say, because we're being called, let's see, I'm looking at the vertical chat. You guys are delusional, low IQ stream. Well, okay.
So I don't care. I mean, like, whatever.
No.
You guys revisit this in 4 years and let's see what's changed. Let's just come back in 4 years and we'll talk about it. Okay? Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know. I never claimed to be right, but we'll see. Just like 2024, we'll see.
Okay, there's a difference between fighting a fire, like maybe putting a garden hose on a fire isn't really going to put it out, but it's a hell of a lot better than spraying it with a gas, like a nozzle, like with a stream of gasoline. All right. So that, I mean, and like I said, the problems of the economy go a lot deeper than I think the executive branch can really change, or any aspect of the government can change. The problems of the economy go right down to the fact that we no longer have a society that incentivizes men and women to be productive by basically taking the relationship between men and women and using it like a dynamo to elicit productivity in men and productivity in women. That's how hunter-gatherers do it. There's a big problem right there. That's a problem that's really for artists and writers and philosophers to try to address. Okay, but we don't have those anymore because the left does fucking nothing. No, it isn't creative.
We don't have good ones. We have communist ones. That's the problem.
That's not
right.
creative. That's just bullshit from the past, trying to recycle some Bronze Age bullshit. We don't have creatives anymore to really get their teeth into that problem. Maybe I guess we could say that we are potentially doing that. But regardless, that's not something that necessarily that the government can address. That's something that needs to go bottom up and start with the creatives who are at the very edge of human expression, right? But he can make things better when it comes to being able to express things that people don't want to hear, right?
Yeah.
Just the free speech, being able to be truthful, being able to frame problems, being able to say, hey, you people on the left, you don't actually have a solution. You're not actually embracing progress. You're just embracing a different kind of conservatism, right? It's not novel to say, hey, we're not able to do these things in the West. Why don't we just take shit from everyone else? That's not novel. And that's exactly what you're doing. And you're hiding behind virtue. You're outsourcing responsibility to someone else and you're hiding it behind virtue. All right.
I got a super chat from Zeranx for $5. He says, the length of the lockdowns was exactly what the elites wanted. I don't remember the outlet I saw this from, but I remember seeing a 2-year stint, which is what they got. Unfortunately, they didn't have a backbench they wanted to risk, so that's why we got Biden and Harris. If Tulsi proved to be as anti-Trump as the elites were, they'd have loved to have run her. The establishment is calculating. That's my read. Yeah, that makes sense, and that's why I think Tulsi's with Trump. They had like the feds watching her. It's crazy. And then Richard Bier gives us. Yeah, they are watching. Well, they're watching a lot of people, but Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, if your ideal model of a society is feudalism, then you might want to have infinity migrants to be a non-technological peasant workforce. Also, infinity migrants will offset the unrestricted abortions. All right. Yeah, that's true. All right. Thank you, Richard Bier and Zeranx for that. Let's listen to some more.
In truth, depending on what Trump does, he very well may deserve some credit if he doesn't mess up the recovery. But given what he wants to do, I don't exactly have confidence in that. Which brings us to the second narrative. The second narrative is
wait. No, sir. My antennae was peaked. My feelers. They were quivering.
You thought he was going to make an argument.
I thought you was going to make an argument. Don't just go to the frick.
No, he hand waved it. Oh, I don't think he's going to do it. He's the orange man. He's bad.
Okay, no, but I heard. Like, okay, I'm not wrong. I'm not going insane, right? Because there was a moment there where I'm like, okay, he's like, go back about 15 seconds.
Okay.
Sorry, Brian.
No, I just know he's not. I mean, we've heard it already. He's not going to say anything.
I know,
mess up the recovery. But given what he wants to do, I don't exactly have confidence in that.
Okay. All right. Okay. List what he wants to do and list why you don't have confidence in it.
He doesn't like the tariffs, I think. That's like one of the things that people harp on about.
I'd agree. I think the tariffs might not be the greatest idea, but whatever. Like, why not?
I mean, like, who are the tariffs going to hurt?
Well, they're probably going to make things more expensive for Americans.
In the short term or in the long term? Why?
Well, because the thing is that it's going to take a while to rebuild industry, right?
Yeah.
And definitely in the short term, but like,
so it's basically it's the trade-off is a little bit of pain now for a long-term prosperity. Is that the idea?
Yeah. If you can, but the thing is that the other thing is if you bring industry back, you're also going to be looking at more expensive products overall, right?
I think Americans are willing to live with that. Maybe not American women, but I think, but whatever, fuck them.
Well, like I said, I'm not sure that this and we're having the conversation he's not having.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I said, this is something that I think goes into my statement about how the economy to really solve the problems is going to require going down the foundation and fixing that.
I think that the tariffs are one of a number of different angles that he's trying to come at this from. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are people who take issue with it, but I think that the fact is that the US has been essentially redistributing taxpayer dollars to foreign nations for a number of reasons for a very long time. And it's put us in the hole and it's put us in last place in terms of all of our other priorities. And I think that it's time that we do make ourselves a priority. And that, I mean, maybe we'll have to see how this works out. But I think it's not just the tariffs. It's also all of these globalist, initiatives where they're like, oh, we want we want America to be a part of this thing. We want America to be a part of that thing. But what they really mean is we want American money for this or that. And maybe we shouldn't be in the business of exporting our dollars to other countries. Maybe we should just be in the business of producing our own energy, producing our own industry, producing our own, materials, our own businesses. And we don't need whatever it was that America exported for so long, which was, like you said, the dollar, but also culture that was coming out of Hollywood. Hollywood is dead. It's basically dead. So we're going to have to make new shit. And that, you know what?
Yeah.
It couldn't have come at a better time. So
Yeah.
I think that we will get that. But what we need is a healthy population, which we don't have because of the shit in our food. And that is something that they're going to try to address. We need a well-educated population, which we also don't have. You know this because the people who are the most insufferable are the ones that are the best educated, which are basically women. And we also need to change the culture so that women don't see men as their mortal enemies. And those things got to happen mainly by the bottom, by altering culture. But I don't think Trump's going to prevent people from being creative, though. That's not really his job, and I think he knows that. But I think the tariffs are a conversation we could have. But I don't think it stops there. I think it comes all from, hey, let's all produce our own shit now and stop getting things from China and all these other countries that we're essentially making richer and richer. And stop giving money to the EU so that they can, essentially use our money to fight proxy wars or whatever. Let's not.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And there's a lot of conversation to be had about, and it's not necessarily criticizing the American people, because I think I don't think it's the rest of the world that's really fucked over the American people. I think it's this dollar industrial complex that's turned, and this is what occurred to me at one point, is that in some ways the US seems to be heavily influenced by a cabal that would make money if civil war broke out. If as the conditions of the US decreases, they actually make more money. And it's not that they are American. In fact, they work against the US. And it's not that they are really helping the world. It's that they're helping themselves. And I mean, I don't think that the world, people in the world, are really against a strong US with exports and productivity and creativity and an actual Hollywood that creates stuff that people actually want to watch. I don't think anybody's against this, but we are sort of looking at it from the outside. It would be nice to not have the dollar imperialism, having these wars that are necessitated by keeping people on the dollar is the world reserve currency, which simultaneously encourages war around the world, and also this kind of immigration, which is a drain on other cultures. It encourages that, but then it also encourages really gutting the US too. Does that make sense? It's like the US is being gutted and the world is being gutted, and the people who are benefiting are in those alphabet soup agencies in Washington, D.C., and the other people who have fingers in all those pies. So I don't think it's the
bankers.
US the world.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know. But again, we have to operate within our own means, do what we can with what we have without overextending. And I think that's what, Trump is trying to do. That's why he had this idea. And it's, maybe it's a Hail Mary play, but I guess we'll have to see.
Brings us to the second.
But there is a respectable way to talk about it without saying, but the orange man likes it, so I can't like it.
Yeah, but and also he's not. I thought he was going to have an argument.
Maybe, I don't know. I think he might bring up the tariffs,
he just switched to another thing. He just switched to another.
He skated over it. I know.
He skated over it. It's like I got excited there for a second.
No, he's not going
to. Conversation was starting. No.
Yeah, I don't know why you thought that. Yeah.
Narrative. The second narrative is that the economy will not do well. And if that's the case, suddenly Trump supporters will magically comprehend cause and effect again, and they will blame Biden and claim that Trump inherited a disaster and that it was all Biden's fault. Now,
and maybe that whole framework is stupid when it comes to the economy.
Yeah, again, he's creating the framework, and it's dumb, and then he's going to blame the framework, which he made up. Yeah.
Well, but the thing is that yes, it's probably it. Okay, it's probably not really intelligent to blame the current administration or grant the current
The
administration.
immediately preceding one, or or whatever.
It's like that. Like I said, the economy is something like he can do things to try to get out of the way, but again, I don't think the American there's a lot of work that needs to get done to dismantle the shit that's causing the American economy to run off the rails. And I'm not. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I don't think he can be blamed. May not be credited, but he can't be blamed.
Yeah.
And there's no point in it. Like, why don't we
Yeah.
just focus on what we can do, like as people, to try to solve this problem, which is the problem of incentivizing productivity. Period.
Do you think that people who voted for Trump are too focused on Trump?
I don't know. Like I would leave that up to you guys to decide.
No, I don't think so. I think that most people who voted for him, they have the same opinion that I have, which is like, okay, we're no longer in a fucking free fall to our destruction via unregulated, unmitigated immigration and all these other problems. Now we can like get some stability and let's all roll up our sleeves and get ready to go to work because this is just getting started. That is the general tone I get from most people who voted for this guy, which is the appropriate attitude. It's not like, OMG, the savior is here. He floated down from heavens on a flaming horse. Nobody thinks that. Very few people do. And most of those people are women who don't have jobs. But like the people who have jobs, they know, okay, now we're going to try to like move the ball towards the right direction and address things. And I think that's what like people who obsess over this is people like him, because again, going back to these people, they are statists. So they believe that everything that happens is top down and that's where it comes from. So when the person that's at the top is somebody they don't like, they immediately assume that all of the crazy shit that's going to happen is going to be a result of that top down person. It has nothing to do with anything else that's going on. So, of course, if he got his person in, which he's not advocating for because he can't make the case for that person, but if he did get that person in, he would say that, oh, now all of the good things are going to spring forth from this because they're statists. They worship the people at the top. That's what they do. So, normal people are like, well, okay, this person's probably not going to be an obstacle. So now I can go and do my thing.
Yeah. And somebody says, no, you guys think of him as Jesus. Well, I certainly don't.
No, I don't think that's true. I think that, Allison, please don't look at the retards in chat. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just there to troll you, get a reaction, or just shame people who voted for the evil orange man, which again, like, it's just, you're not even wrong. You're so dumb. Like, it's just no point. So whatever. Look, fuck Trump. He has nothing for you. Yeah. We'll see. Okay. And the best thing you can do is nothing actually for us. Like, get out of the way. That's what I'm asking for. That's perfect.
Yeah,
anyway.
That's perfect. Don't support free speech.
That's it. Yeah, support the free speech. That's literally, you know how much work it takes to support free speech? Nothing. You just stand back and let us go. Okay.
God. And also, give me a free pass to come into the U.S. That's another thing I'd support.
You'll probably be able to get that. Just fill out your paperwork. Okay, so let's keep going.
As to either help or hurt the economy, that narrative could have some validity. Maybe Biden could have done more to prevent the rampant price gouging, for instance. But if he did that, then
see again, you see that? Okay, so that's an argument I can get under and go after. Okay, so Dark Matter 2525, he is essentially co-signing the claim made by Kamala Harris that the reason why your groceries are more expensive is because the evil corporations are price gouging and only the government can protect you from price gouging. That's retarded, okay? That is retarded. Nobody wants to price gouge. You can't make gas stations charge less or grocery stores charge less. Shit costs more because of things that are outside of the control of those people. Like, they have to charge them. Why would somebody willingly charge you more when they're trying to get your money, when they're trying to get your money? They want to compete with people. Price gouging is not a thing. Not really. So anyway, he's retarded. That's it. He's retarded.
Okay.
Profits would not
What?
So it wasn't the gigantic amount of money printing. It was
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. It was price gouging. The evil corporations are at it again. The Walmart, your local Kroger is charging you, $7 for butter because they're evil and want your money. Although they've never done it ever in history. They just figured it out. Oh, we can just charge whatever we want and people will have to buy it. It couldn't possibly be because the cost of everything is going up because of something the government is doing. Nah, it's the evil, greedy corporations.
It can't be the dollar industrial complex that's causing
If you believe that, you watch too many cartoons.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
have been as good, and the stock market would not have done as well. And the narrative would have been, look at what Biden did to your 401ks. Under Trump, line went up, but under Biden, line went down. The narrative would have been so relentless that people would have been terrified about their retirements. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'm not sure what will happen, but if I were forced to bet, I'd say scenario 2. We are way overdue for a recession. Consider the inverted yield curve. This happens when the interest rates of
Maybe, but again, is that Trump's fault or is that something that we were driven towards?
No,
Yeah.
and this is the thing. Like, he's now making the argument that whatever happens, if it's negative, isn't really Trump's fault. Like, okay, congratulations, dark matter. This is what I've been saying for the entire time that we've been responding to you. The economy is well beyond one individual president. It is the collective decisions of a generation ago up to today. Like, and it can't be fixed on that level. Like, it can maybe get, like as Brian was saying, maybe Trump can get out of the way. Maybe he can encourage the kind of individual liberty that can create solutions for this economic problem. But it's going to be bottom up that it's going to happen. So yes, dark matter.
Yeah, but again, that's true, Allison. But this brings us back to another question. Is dark matter part of the solution? Is he going to say, let's roll up our sleeves and get to work? Or is he going to complain about everything Trump does for 4 years and just say, I told you so at the end, no matter what happens?
What I'm
saying, like, is he helping? Is this helping? Like, what's the solution? Right. Okay. You don't offer anything. You guys voted the wrong way. I hope you burn in hell and you have a really hard time and you suffer. I hope you never know peace. Okay. Well, then I guess you're not really part of the solution either way. Right. I mean, like, you're not. Are you going to go to work? Probably not.
No, because it isn't about actually being productive. It's about justifying why you're owed shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Short-term bonds are higher than that of long-term bonds. It's usually the other way around. It indicates that investors are piling into the longer terms because they lack confidence in the economy. This is a recession indicator. Look at this chart. Everything below that black line is when the yield curve was inverted. Those gray vertical bars represent recessions. Now, notice the correlation. When the yield curve uninverts, we usually experience a recession the following year. Look at the early 80s. That recession happened because of the Phillips curve, which was when they tried to lower unemployment via higher inflation. Those policies began in the 60s and it affected the early 80s. Now look at 1990. That recession was caused by the savings and loan crisis and the Gulf War. Now see how the yield curve uninverts in 1989. And then by 1990, we're in a recession. Look at the recession of 2001, which was the dot-com crash. The yield curve uninverts in the year 2000, and by 2001, we're in a recession. Now look at the recession in 2008, which was the global financial crisis. The yield curve uninverts in 2007, and by 2008, we're in a recession.
All right. I think I let that one play extra long, but like, I think that, I mean, that's definitely a pattern, but I wonder though how much of this is natural or organic and how much of this is constructed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question to ask,
In 2019, the yield curve inverted ever so slightly, and in 2020, we had a mini recession. The longer the curve is inverted, the worse the recession. Now see how long the curve was inverted for the GFC? It was about 2 years, and the recession was really bad and lasted for about 2 years. Now, our current yield inversion is massive, about 3 years long, and it went far deeper. And we just uninverted this year. If the pattern holds, then we are in for one hell of a recession sometime later in 2025. We never fully paid the price for COVID. All we did was kick the can down the road. That mini
And who what is dark matter the type of person who is advocating for that stuff?
Yeah, dude, he was telling he was laughing at people that were said where he presumed had passed on because they didn't get the Fauci ouchie and that they deserved it. He was definitely in that camp of, you know, without getting us in trouble with YouTube. He was definitely behind all of that and thought that the reason for all of these financial problems is because not enough people did as they were told by the state. So yeah. Anyway.
Recession in 2020.
We want to play the rest?
Money does not accurately reflect what we did. The next recession is payday for COVID, and the pattern shows that it will probably happen within a year. But maybe I'm wrong, and the Federal Reserve pulled off a soft landing or no.
This is a
landing,
really
and we'll all be
dumbass
fine.
argument. Dark matter, are you actually pro-Trump? I'm going to tell you why. Let's let him finish. Let's let him finish.
All right. Okay.
I just would not bet on it. So that's my assessment of what happened. In the end, the rhetoric surrounding the economy and why everyone is paying more for everything is what won Trump the presidency. The truth is that it's far more nuanced, and where the blame and credit should be placed is far more complicated than more money with Trump, less money with Biden. But people are very simple, fickle creatures, and it is exceedingly easy to lead them astray with the power of social media. So
he's floating above everybody, guys. Did you guys know that?
Is there any further actual argument, or does he just self?
I think he just
ratio?
I think he just jerks off and sucks his own cock for like the next 2 minutes.
All right, so
And
I'm going to address
basically-
your argument here, dark matter. Okay, so what you're saying is there are some pretty negative economic indicators. I think I actually mentioned the yield curve inversion in 2019, but regardless, there are some serious negative economic indicators. It's likely that we're going to have a recession, perhaps. Okay, well, you've just made the argument that you can't blame Trump if something really bad happens economically. And I've been making the argument that the economy is much bigger than any particular presidential
administration or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fair enough. You can't blame him if it goes really south, right? That's an excellent argument to make there, dark matter. I would agree. But what happens if he manages to make it not go south? What happens if the economy actually improves under Trump instead of going into a recession? So essentially what you've set up, dark matter, you person who's above everyone, you 1,000 IQ galaxy brain, is that you can't blame Trump if it goes south. But if it doesn't go south, there's only one reason.
Yeah.
He managed to pull off an economic miracle. All right, well, thanks. Was that supposed to be an argument against Trump? Was it? Like I'm sitting here a little bit on the outside of all of this, and I'm like,
well, I think it's what he's saying is he's like, I think it's an argument against, I don't know, like I guess religious devotion to the Orange Man, I guess, even though again, I don't think it's a common thing. I don't think it's really true of most people. But that's what they do. They say, you know, you're in a cult. And it's like, oh, you mean the cult that's first of all majority of the country and also, you know, believes in common sense things like not indoctrinating our kids into like cutting off their genitals or closing the border or, you know, having like the ability to afford things. Yeah, that sounds really culty to me.
And also, just to answer anybody who thinks that me and Brian and the people here on the channel generally advocate that you don't cut into the genitals of minors for any reason,
Yeah, including circumcision, of course.
including
Yes.
circumcision. There's no cut into the genitals of minors. Okay, that should
Mhm.
we would think that would just be like a basic common sense, but no. All right,
No,
so
we've taken it further. Apparently, they're trying to take it further. Yeah. It
yeah,
makes you wonder if male genital mutilation was how they got their foot in the door to do all
yeah,
the other stuff. It's like, well, we already do this, so why not just remove the whole thing?
no, just stop doing that. Actually, like,
Yeah. How about we stop out all of it?
yeah, just stop all of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
even the intersex, like, don't do anything to them. Let them decide when they come of age, right?
Yeah.
No genital cutting before a child has the ability to I don't know, vote. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I
All right.
want
I got some
you get some
I got some good stuff. Do you want me to share like a good little thing?
Okay, sure.
Happy thing? Okay.
Happy things.
So this is a video on Twitter by a woman who is waking up to she's having a moment of clarity. She woke up to the indoctrination. She's one of the women that did not shave her head and put on a blue bracelet and all that. But let's listen to her testimony. Okay, here we go.
I feel like I have a unique perspective with this whole election thing because I used to be very, very far left. Like, I was one of the people having a fucking mental breakdown in 2016 when he won, right? And I didn't even like him up until 6 months ago when it became very obvious that they were like staging a coup and tried to assassinate him, and then some shit started clicking. So I'm still very new to like this whole side of things. But the thing is, like, when I was very far left, like radically far left, I thought I knew what was going on. Like, I genuinely believed I was informed. I thought I knew better than everybody else. And that's what these people think too. And the thing is I would get so triggered and so angry when people would question me because I didn't actually know what the hell I was talking about. Like, I thought I did, but really, I didn't actually know any policies. I didn't actually know any politics. All I actually knew was what I had seen online in mainstream media. And because everybody was saying, I just assumed it had to be right, right? And I think where a lot of this comes from is like, people just don't want to be wrong. Like, it's
Mhm.
and it's embarrassing to acknowledge that you were wrong or that you didn't know as much as you thought you did. But I would get so defensive and fly off the handle whenever somebody would question me because I didn't actually have any talking points. And the talking points I did have were inaccurate. But I didn't want to be wrong. So I just kept fucking regurgitating. I just kept echoing the same shit that I was hearing over and over again. And that's what people are still doing. And I don't blame them. I'm not mad at them because really, I mean, if you're only exposed to that, then that's what you're going to believe. But it's crazy to be on the other side of it for this election and see just how misinformed people are. And they will argue with you. And I won't have a car because they will argue with you till they're blue in the face. Like, because they are just so convinced that they're right.
All right. I wanted to share that because it goes to show that I think, can still get people to at least try to look at a fuller picture if we have the reach to do that. And that's what it comes down to. This whole thing about free speech that we've been bringing up every so often. If she deprogrammed herself, I think
Yeah.
that there's hope for everybody. So
Yeah, why
yeah.
is it so addictive to be right? I think that's a good question.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's what I've been saying. There's something. It's pride, and what I mean like, yeah, there's like a certain pride that people,
pride or vanity to it.
Yeah,
And like, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot because actually, as a result of that whole mass reporting Twitter jail incident, because I said that, well, I basically said that women rape as much as men do. And it just
Mhm.
it and the thing is that I just said that, right? and it just blew people, like conservatives and feminists were just going ape shit in my comments. And I'm like, well, first of all, just saying that shouldn't cause people to have such a strong emotional reaction, right? If you think about it, women rape as much as men. Like, okay, I should be able to say that. I should be able to assert that. I should be able to assert that as a conjecture or a hypothesis and test it. Why are people losing their shit? Right? Because it's just a statement. It's just a possibility that's being put out there. Now, I have statistics to suggest that it's true, but why are people so flipping out about it? And I think I know why. It's because the entire narrative that men are more sexually degenerate and monstrous than women gives women a position from which they can always be right morally. And anyway, so I thought that was really fascinating. But why is it that people need to be right so much? Because if I think about my life, it's where I've realized that I'm wrong that the most interesting things start to happen. Right? When you question yourself, when you question your assumptions, it's you become curious about the world again. And that's a much more fun place to be than constantly trying to enforce certainties that on other people that you don't even have yourself. That's the other thing that was interesting about what she said. She was getting angry because she didn't know she was right. She just wanted to be right,
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's missing a step, isn't it? Because you want to make sure what you're saying is at least in the realm of possible. Maybe it isn't completely right, but just in the realm of possible. And yet aren't concerned about that. You're concerned about being perceived to be right by the people around you, not whether or not what you're saying is right. Get what I'm saying? You want to be right rather than know that what you're saying is right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, that's it. I think we got through it all. So
sure. All right. So once again, guys, if you want to send us a message, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way to send us a tip and a message, because you don't have to send it through YouTube's comment enhancement system. And also, if you want to support the show, it's at feedthebadger.com/support. That's how you can just support directly. $5, $10, every bit helps. You guys supporting us are why we continue to exist in the strange little configuration that we do. And if you want to subscribe and get more content, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/subscribe. I hope you sense the theme, which is go to feedthebadger.com and see how you can help us out. And I want to do a big thanks to Richard Bier for actually requesting this topic. It's a very politics heavy topic, but I think we covered some other stuff that's much more relevant to the channel's usual topic, which is men's issues, the relationship between men and women, etc. And so I think it was good. And thank you also to Richard Bier for sponsoring the show. Since it was a double feature, he sponsored to the tune of $1,000. So thank you.
Woo! Thank you, Richard.
Woo!
Oh, here we go.
All right, all right, all right.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Excellent. Okay. So thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed this, especially our very special guests on the vertical stream. And back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you've not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. You'll find links to the sources of these videos, of responses in the description of this one. And hey, if you hate this video, you can also downvote it. It'll also still give us some benefits. So whatever, just let us know what you guys think. And most importantly, please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your evening.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.